What's hopping, everyone? Fortune Croaky here. Welcome to the video. Today we're going to be taking a look at every identity in Limbus Company and ranking them on a tier list. There have been a lot of changes to the game since my previous tier list video, and there were also some things that we didn't really understand when we made the first tier list. So instead of just revisiting, I decided to redo the entire thing from scratch. This was a 9-hour stream, and I've tried to edit it down as much as possible, so I hope you enjoy. Let's get right into it. Welcome, guys! What's hoppin', everyone? So the basis for how we are going to judge identities. Like we did last time, we're not going to focus on damage type. So we're not going to look too hard at like sin affinity, at like whether it's slash, pierce, or blunt. What I was thinking is we go by clash potential. So that'll be like their numbers. Just like how well they roll in clashes, what their maximum values are for their skills. And so that'll like kind of tell how reliably they can win clashes. And then there'll also be consistency. So then we have like consistency, if I can spell that right, which is like the number of coins they will have. Speed and stagger thresholds. With speed, we can do speed. What I think is more important than speed is speed in connection to their skills. So it's like speed plus skills. So for example, if a character applies like fragile same turn, paralysis same turn, then you're gonna want them to be as fast as possible. And I guess passives. Passives, well, it'll have bearing, but the way I see it, if a character is like really specialized at something, if they only have good passives, I would put them in a low tier. But if they have really good skills and not very good passives, I would still put them high tier. So I feel like passives are like, there's something to consider, but they have less actual bearing on how good a character is. Okay, and then is there anything else? I guess like synergies. This one I'm kind of not 100% about because there will obviously be like synergies that get added to the game down the line that will make certain characters better. Like for example with Warp Faust, she was terrible until they released Telepole, and then once they released Telepole, I feel like she shot up, but you have to own both of them for it to matter. Stuff like that. Like for example Warp Merceau, I would say is pretty dog shit, but if Merceau gets like a KQE E.G.O or something, then I feel like he'll also shoot up in how useful he is. So the tiers we have are S, A, B, C, and D. We should probably start off with the characters that are bad, so that we have like a baseline to work off of. So we can start with Heathcliff. So he's got Extreme Edge. It's a 4+6. It's literally default skill 1. Flying Sword. So he's got 2 of these, 5+10. Wait, do they say the number of coins? Yeah, they do right there. Okay, so it's a single coin, it's a 5+10, at less than 25% HP, +2 skill power. So this is a decent clash winner. So this one, it rolls a 15 max, which is actually, like, that's a decent number for clashes. He has good colors to support his ego. But I think that's pretty much all that's good about him. So Flashing Strike, it's a 5 with 2 +6s. That's a maximum 17 roll potential. At less than 25% +2 skill power. I think honestly, you need 41 HP for the bonus. Yeah, so I feel like you're not going to be getting this bonus. Where are his stagger thresholds? At 80% and 60%. Okay. So on the plus side, so the plus side of him having stagger thresholds here is if he gets staggered early in the fight and drops below 50%, he will never get staggered again. And that is definitely, that's useful later on. If he eats a few bad hits and doesn't die, he'll be useful. Yeah, exactly. So he will get staggered very early on, but if he manages to survive the turn where he's staggered, then he'll not be staggered anymore, which is good support for Flashing Strike, considering lose 5 HP. If that shit staggered you, that would be maddening. It would be actually absurd. issue is that he will kill himself with his skill 3. Yeah, he doesn't have a reliable way of healing, and I guess if you gave him a reliable way of healing, there's a danger that he'll heal outside of the range. Like, for example, if you had literally any Gregor support passive, he's still doing a net 5 damage to himself. Unless you have G-Corp Gregor's passive, in which case he can heal per clash. But anyway, yeah, then you have the danger of him healing outside of that range. Less than 25% HP, plus 2 skill power. See, the issue with his build as well is that you don't want to be eating damage. You don't want to be tanking. So I guess if you really needed to take some damage, you can use his counter skill. So that's decent synergy. He takes more effort to set up than she-ish while having less payoff. Yeah, plus 2 skill power is pretty terrible. At high sanity, I can see 5 plus 10 being useful, but the issue is his real like clash winner, his sanity gainer at 0 sanity is Flashing Strike. This is like the only skill that you would really feel comfortable using at low sanity, and he only has 1 copy of it. So without like Faust support, he's going to have a pretty hard time gaining sanity unless you're really lucky as well. Before attack lose, and yeah, I remember last time we made the tier list, like the only highlight of his entire kit is his support passive is great. Where one ally with the lowest HP deals and takes plus 20% damage. Let me check actually if that's owned. I think it's owned. Oh, it's Resonance. Okay. It's Resonance. That's kind of actually not that cool either. I feel like when all skills were Resonance, it was a good skill, but now, like on the plus side, you only activate it the turns that you want to. Like, you do not want your character taking 20% extra damage, like when it's not planned. But in Wrath teams, yeah. And I guess I would say in the current meta, there's not a lot of good Wrath skills. But we might see some better Wrath skills later on, so we can't really rule that out. I don't know. I feel like we can definitely say that he belongs in D tier. Next, let's take a look at Ishmael, because I feel like base Ishmael was one of the ones that I was pretty confident is terrible. So, Ishmael. She has 3 plus 7. This is legitimately terrible. Like, the skill ones that have 3 as the tails value are honestly the worst skills in the game. Ishmael's okay. I don't know about that. She has 5 plus 8, Clash and Inflict 3 defense power down. I don't think that's a great Clash win effect. And I don't think her numbers are that good either. Like, this number here, this is worse than She Heathcliff. She Heathcliff is a plus 10. Clash win, inflict 3 defense power down. Shield bash, 7 plus 12, so that's a 19 maximum roll value. On hit, burst tremor, inflict 1 blunt fragility. Okay, so she inflicts blunt fragility. It's same turn, it looks like. She has 5 to 8 speed. So on the plus side, she's fast enough that you can actually make use of the blunt fragility. Like, she can inflict that before other characters manage to attack, and then if they're using blunt skills, then they can take advantage of that. On the downside, it is only 10% extra damage. Her tremor support is pretty fucking terrible. She inflicts +1 count, and then she bursts it. And that's it. That's all she has for tremor. And then 3 defense power down is kind of useless, I would say, because this is also same turn, isn't it? And it triggers on Clash Win. Isn't that pretty awful? I can't think of a scenario where that would actually be useful. 6 owned for the Wrath skill, for determination to survive. And then at less than 25% HP, gain 1 Clash power in a Clash. What are her stagger resistances? Stagger thresholds are 60%, 30%. So those are also terrible stagger thresholds for her passive. She's gonna get staggered at 30% and instantly die. I would say she's D tier. I would say she's really deep. Like, she doesn't have any consistency. All of her skills are single coin. Unlike G-Corp Otis, she's not a good support. And she rolls lower, I think, right? The question is she better or worse than Heathcliff? I think she might be worse than Heathcliff. Defense power down this turn is the worst effect in the... It's pretty fucking useless. Yeah. Yeah, at least with, like, what's it? With Roseate Desire on Honglu, it also gives defense level down, which increases the damage you do. But, it's such a bad effect. So yeah, I would say she's worse than Heathcliff. Who else? So Merceau. So LCB Merceau suffers from having 26 offense level. Merceau has stagger thresholds at 50% and 20%. So if he falls below 50%, there's a good chance he's dying. He always moves last. Always. There is like no way anyone could possibly be slower than this shit. His speed at uptie 1 is 1 to 2. Insane. Why didn't they just give him 0 speed and be done with it? I will say his support passive is pretty great. It's especially really good for solos. Minus 10% damage from every attack is pretty amazing. At less than 50% HP, gain 1 protection at the start of the combat phase. Interesting. So I guess... I don't know, though. Like, is 1 protection gonna save him from having 50 and 20 stagger thresholds? His E.G.O... He doesn't have support for his base E.G.O. Only for pursuance. Let's see, undo. So that's 2 with 2 plus 4. So it rolls a 10. It's slightly more consistent than, like, say, Ishmael's skill 1 because he has 2 coins. So this does have a better chance of winning clashes and building up sanity. But it's also, he has 26 offense level and it rolls a 2 on 2 tails. Nailing Fist is literally Ishmael's skill 2. Gain 3 defense level up next turn. And Burst Tremor. Is defense level up, is that percent? Is 1 defense level up 10%? Or is it just literally 1? I think it's percent, right? So he would be gaining almost 12 defense level up. Which is actually pretty good. He would have like 50 on that guard. The issue is, how are you going to make enemies target him? Because he's slow as hell. Really messes things up for him. And then he has Deku. On use, gain 3 protection next turn. That's pretty good. 3 protection next turn is pretty good. A maximum 8 roll potential with 26 offense level is pretty terrible, though. Pretty awful. I would say he's definitely D tier. Yeah, his offense level is like, that's just the icing on the cake. Like, he has low speed. He has, I'm pretty sure, the lowest offense level in the game. His stagger thresholds are bad. The question is he worse than Ishmael? He gains 3 protection next turn. So he has good effects, I guess. He's really tanky. He's a really tanky boy. But he's not fast enough to redirect any attacks. So you just have to, like, cross your fingers that the enemy's gonna target him and then use a guard, I guess. Or I guess if he's soloing, that's something. Yeah, and the protection is on use, so he could totally lose this clash and still gain the protection, which is pretty solid. Same with Nailing Fist. So I think, well, he's a different role from Heathcliff and Ishmael. Like, Ishmael, I don't know what she's supposed to be, honestly. Like, is she support? I guess she's supposed to be support, but she's a terrible support. Heathcliff is supposed to be just raw damage, but he gets outclassed by pretty much every other damage character. Do we put him above Heathcliff? Honestly, like, I do like protection. Yeah, I like protection. Should we take a look at Donkey now? I think Donkey and then Rodya are our other contenders for D tier. And maybe Yi-Sang. So Donkey... She has worse rolls than Ishmael. She has good clash win effects. Except that 2 haste doesn't really change anything for her, since she needs to both roll max speed and win 2 clashes with Joust to even be able to get close to 10 plus speed. And that's like the easiest way she could do it. The easiest way she could get to 10 speed is if she rolls max and wins 2 clashes, or activate her E.G.O passive. So if you have a lust comp, then I guess you could lower that to win 1 clash. Yeah, okay. So slightly easier. You win 1 clash with Joust, you roll max speed, and then you do an absolute resonance of 4 lust skills. I don't know if that's actually easier to do. And that's just so that you can get coin power +2 for 4 justice once. Which does change it from +3 to +5, which gives her a maximum roll potential of 18, which is pretty solid. The attack power up I like. Like, okay, last time we did the tier list, I misunderstood the clash win effect. I thought it was like Library of Runa, where it's every individual coin win gives you 2 attack power up. But apparently it's actually just like the clash as a whole, and then when that's over, right before you do the damage phase, then you gain the clash win effect. So like if she gets to deal direct damage with Galloping Tilt after winning a clash, then she gets attack power up next turn. And it's only 2. So it's good for like stacking power, I guess. But it's a 4+10. Like you need high sanity to win this. On tails, that's going to be terrible. And then coin power +2 at 10 or more speed. That's just not an effect that you're going to be getting. So 9 times out of 10, 4 justice is going to be rolling a 12 at max. It's so bad. Her stagger thresholds are pretty dangerous. Skills deal +10% damage in a 1 clash. I mean, okay, this is also good for a lust comp, right? So if you're running her on a very specific team with a lot of lust on it, and you somehow manage to get her to high sanity, see, she runs into the same issue where when she's at 0 sanity, her only even semi-reliable way of getting clash wins is 4 justice, and she only has 1 copy of it. So she would win the clash with Joust, and then deal 10% extra damage with that 10. So she'd do 11 damage. Nice! You basically need to take Faust. Yeah, I'd say she's still D tier. I think she might be better than Merceau though, question mark? Gain 2 haste next turn. This is like, it's so useless if you're not getting to 10 speed, and that's never gonna happen. Galloping Tilt, 2 attack power up. See, I like 2 attack power up, but the skill that it's attached to, it's like, on tails it's a 4. I think she's worse than Heathcliff. But I would still say she's better than Ishmael. So next is Rodya. Default Rodya. Strike down, it's a 3+7. So we hate those numbers. 2 bleed is fine. It's 2 extra damage. If you have a way of boosting bleed count before they attack, then it could be potentially a lot more than 2 extra damage. Can she support? She can't support any of her E.G.O. Strike down, 2 bleed. Axe combo. So it's a 4 with 2+4s. See, this is better, at least. It's higher consistency. And so when you're at 0 sanity, your odds are good that you'll get at least 1 heads out of these 2. Like, it's a 50-50. So you have a, what's it? It's a 50% chance that you get 1 heads. It's a 25% chance that you get 2 heads, and a 25% chance that you get no heads. So yeah, it wins clashes. Even with 1 heads, you get an 8 roll, which is mediocre. It's solidly mediocre. Against a lot of N-Corp enemies, it's not going to win clashes because they have like bullshit rolls where they just get 14 all the time. But it's decent, it's reliable. It can beat a tails if the enemy gets a tails. Slay, that's a 10 clash power. Skill power +1 when below 0 SP. That's literally awful. Actual garbage. So it's skill power, right? Not coin power, which means, yeah, that's just a 3 with 4 plus 2s. So the additional effect is literally just that she rolls an 11 instead of 10, which is pretty terrible. It's like, what does that add up to? 4 extra damage. It's literally 4 extra damage. On hit, if the target has plus 6 bleed, deal plus 20% damage. Okay, so she exists for punishing characters that are, like, have high stacks of bleed. Her passive actually seems kind of interesting. It's owned. Okay. That's kind of cool. So every hit has a 50% chance to inflict 1 bleed. Honestly, that's better than anything I was expecting to see. If it was coin power, it would fit into the whole gambler theme really well. If it was coin power, it would also make her skill actually good. Like, that would be a 14, which at least can tie clashes with Encore. Her support passive is also really good. Like, 20% damage with heads coins is so good. If you're using it in solos, that's 20% damage on heads for, like, every attack. Which is, again, amazing. Like, she has an amazing passive for solos. Yeah, and then it's also based on owned, right? Yeah, it's literally just owned. So, honestly, I might put Rodya in C tier. She has, like, some damage potential with this shit. She has bleed. She inflicts a lot of bleed. She has enough consistency to actually win a couple clashes. For stagger thresholds, honestly, 65 for the first one is pretty decent. Pretty decent. Yeah, let's give it to her. She deserves it. She gets a C. Yeah, low C, for sure. Okay. Let's take a look at Yi-sung, too. So, he has awful skill 1, as always. 2 sinking on heads. Sinking isn't really... It's not a good status outside of a couple really specific instances. Like Rodya's Rhyme Shank, right? Yeah, if the target has 5 or more sinking, inflict 1 bind and attack power down 3 times per unit. So yeah, sinking is only good if you're running it with coldness. So again, it's a very specific case. Okay, so sinking, yes, it does gloom damage. So it's literally rupture on abnormalities. It has the same effect as rupture on abnormalities. On humanoid enemies, it lowers their SP, which I feel like most of the time, dropping their SP by 2 isn't really going to do anything for you. End stop stab, it's another case of decent consistency. Like these coins, he's actually going to win a decent amount of clashes with this. Inflict 1 sinking, inflict 1 sinking count. So this means, like with the order this goes in, it'll be 1 sinking with 1 count, and then he adds a count, so it's 2 count, right? If he could inflict more sinking count, I think he'd be better. So the problem with the 2 sinking is you can't increase that count without hitting them and losing that. Unless you've built up enough count beforehand, but because he only inflicts +1 count. I guess if you use end stop stab like a couple times in a row, you could stack up the sinking count faster than you lose it. And then his third skill is a 6 with 3+1, so that's a 9 clash potential. He has 28 offense level too. I didn't even look at that. So his offense level's bad. The highest he can roll on a skill is 12, which is not awful, but it literally, like, there are certain enemies that you just can't beat with a 12. And then if the target's SP is below 0, inflict 1 fragile. But that's same turn, right? Well, I guess he's fast enough that it's okay that it's same turn. Information neutralization it's decent. It's based on owned, and it's just 10 SP heal if you lose SP. That's gonna be helpful in like the chicken fights in Hell's Chicken, etc. Information relay, apply 1 damage up to 2 allies placed after this unit on the dashboard. That's actually pretty damn good too. The trigger for that is resonance. Okay. Well, so it's on a gloom comp then, which means you have to use deflect, which is his worst skill. That sucks. Inflict 1 fragile's good. End stop stab with 1 sinking count. Skill 3 does nothing versus Abno, since they're at 0 and not before 0. Oh. Considering fragile doesn't work I might put him below rodya, considering it doesn't work on Abnos. Now who do we go for? Merceau, Warp Merceau. On use, gain 2 slash protection. What I don't like about that is it's slash protection. So it's only useful against slash enemies. And since he has slash skills, you gotta be fighting enemies with slash skills who are weak to slash, or at least not resistant to slash. Like, that's so specific. It is a skill 1, and it does roll 11. Oh wait, does he has 30 offense level? I thought it was worse than that. I thought his offense level was in the 20s. Okay, I deserve to give, I mean, you deserve more credit, Merceau. Like, I should have given you more credit. Gain 2 slash protection. So the real issue is that 2 of his skills spend charge. He's very fast for meur. Yeah, 4 to 8 is pretty crazy. When attacked, gain +1 charge count. Okay, and that means like directly attacked, right? Like taking damage. One ally with the lowest speed inflicts +1 rupture. Okay, his support passive sucks. That's literally just 1 extra damage. When attacked, gain +1 charge count up to 6 times. The problem is, how are you going to do that? How are you going to get him attacked 6 times? Does Sinclair E.G.O work with that? Oh shit, it probably does work with that, doesn't it? Synergy? So, once you have enough resources, what are the resources, by the way? Envy. Oh, and it's only 3. Okay, so you can get there pretty quickly. He has good solo potential, I guess. Because you can just guard, tank a bunch of hits, gain a ton of charge, and then that actually lets you use his skills. In fights with multiple sinners, it's going to be a lot harder to get enemies to target him. Energy cycle, it's a 5 with 3 plus 2, so that's an 11. Decent clash power. Pretty consistent, so generally you're going to be rolling like a 7 or a 9 with that. Inflict 1 rupture, inflict 3 rupture. Spend 3 charge to inflict slash fragility. So if you have the charge for this, he's fast enough for the slash fragility to be kind of useful. He's also fast enough for the defense level down to be useful. Spend 2 charge. The problem, yeah, the real issue is he needs that charge. He needs the KQE E.G.O and he needs it fast. Because if he actually could inflict slash fragility, that's 20% extra slash damage from all of your characters that go after him, as long as they like attack the same part or the same enemy. The rupture is free, so that's 5 extra damage from that. And yeah, he needs 8 charge to get max value out of energy current. So then the other issue that arises is like, you're gonna be wanting to use skills, win clashes, hit enemies to like inflict debuffs, but you're also going to be wanting to take direct hits so that you can gain charge and like tank stuff. His stagger thresholds are decent for a tank. I'd be a little worried about him once he staggers. You gain more charge by using Rip and winning the clash than using guard. So he's going to need to be getting targeted by more enemies than he's clashing with. I think I'd put him high C tier maybe. I don't think he deserves much better than that. There he is. Like, also his clash potential. The highest he rolls is an 11. He rolls it with 2 of his skills. Energy current only rolls a 9. And his offense level is 30, so he's not getting any bonuses from that either. He has good effects though. Maybe the goal with this guy is you don't clash. But he's so fast that he'll be redirecting enemies anyway. Like, he will be forcing clashes because of his high speed. So yeah, it's not a great identity. Now should we move to the other end of the spectrum and just jump to the good characters? I want to do N-Corp Merceau next. I want to do all of Merceau's identities. So, the issue I have with N-Corp Merceau is low clash potential. However, it has higher clash potential than any of Merceau's other identities. And it also has really useful effects on its skills. So he has drive. This has a 5 skill power, plus 1 coin power. So for a skill 1, it's rolling pretty low. the highest you're gonna roll is a 7. But it does win against low rolling skills. On hit lowers user's stagger threshold by 60% of the damage dealt. So he's not going to be doing a lot of damage with this skill. Like again, the most he's going to do with the first hit is 6 multiplied by whatever resistances they have. 7 plus 6, so that's what, 13 for the second hit? Which is decent. He only has 1 stagger threshold, which is kind of godlike. His speed isn't really high enough to redirect attacks, but if attacks are targeting him, he can tank them for sure. Yeah, he can solo. He gets protection from foolishness at combat start, which is, that's amazing. Like, I wish fucking Rodya had that. Dude, she has it on use. That makes no sense. It makes 0 sense. Like, she gets the protection after she tanks the hit. He gets the protection at combat start. This is actually good. Yeah, and if he's soloing and you use like a bunch of these, then he gets a whole stack of protection. Basically, his clash potential does not really matter because he can just get hit forever and does not care. I don't know if I would go that far, because you're gonna want to inflict these effects, and in order to do so, you have to win clashes. Like, he can't inflict nails without winning clashes. Attack power down is a really based effect. So if you can stack nails on the enemy and get that attack power down, it's also next turn, which is amazing. Attack power down is persistent. You can one-side? True. Yeah, he can one-side. And he's slow enough that he won't force clashes for a decent amount of the time. Losing a clash is a wasted turn no matter what. Well, you could counter, and then you don't have to worry about losing a clash, but yeah. So this one, it's a 6 plus 3. That's some damn good clash potential. Inflicts 3 nails, 3 bind, and if they have a bunch of nails, you get extra bind and attack power down. This kind of works against him because he's going to slow the enemy and force clashes again. Okay, so this is a 12. This is 8 plus 3. So that's what, maxed out at 14. The like clash win potential is pretty high, so he's going to be gaining a lot of sanity from this. Inflicts 2 nails. Heal 50% of damage dealt. Right, and he heals himself on hit. When below 50% HP, remove 1 negative status effect and gain 1 fanatic, 1 attack power up, and 3 protection at the start of the combat phase. Is that... That's probably resonance, isn't it? That's way too broken to be owned. Yep, that's resonance. And his passive, his support is 1 attack power up and 1 protection to the ally with the lowest HP. Okay, so he has a pretty damn good support passive too. But I don't know if he deserves higher than A tier. Yeah, I'd put him like top of A, I think. I think he deserves to be like the best character in A tier. He's the A representative. Now, since we already have it open, let's also just look at meur. Assault. 3 plus 4. Okay, so this is an example of one of the skill 1s that has decent consistency. It's 2 coins. It rolls an 11 max, which is pretty good. Like, by skill 1 standards, 11 is like some of the best numbers you can get. So my issue with meur, though, is, again, his first 2 skills, they don't roll super high. So this is an 11, it's decent consistency. This is a 10, it's also decent consistency. He inflicts a lot of burn. The good thing about burn is it doesn't trigger instantly. It triggers at the end of a turn. So if you have like a burn comp, you can stack all this burn, add burn count and stuff to it before you have to worry about it going away. He inflicts 2 burn. If the target has 6 or more burn, inflict 2 burn on 2 random enemies, inflict 1 burn. So he just inflicts a lot of burn. And then we have Perfected Death Fist, which is actually a good skill, and I think it's the best skill that any meur has. It's the highest rolling skill that any meur identity has. Inflict 3 burn on heads, and then he gets 3 count, and if they have 6 or more burn, inflict 3 burn on 2 random enemies. So he has like the burn snowballing effect, where if the enemy already has burn, he'll give them more and more burn, which is pretty solid. When attacked, inflict 1 burn on a random enemy. So this is the fire equivalent of Warp Merceau's passive. I feel like burn isn't good enough to base an entire team comp around it as the central mechanic. Like, if burn is the central mechanic that your team is based on, then I think you could be doing a little better. There are definitely ways to stack burn. I would maybe put him high B tier. Just because I feel like there's going to be identities that are way better than this, but worse than N-Corp. Next then, let's start with Honglu because he has pretty much the same numbers as Merceau. His offense level is literally just one lower. He has the same exact numbers for his skill 1 and skill 2. So on use heal 3 SP. It's decent. It's like a little bit of free SP. It's kind of nice because it means that you're speeding up the process of getting to 45 SP, which means more heads later on down the line, which means more clash wins. Crimson Blaze Fist, it's the classic skill that rolls 17. It's the same as HEATH's skill. If they already have burn, inflicts 1 burn count. So this is good. Heal 6 SP. If the target has 6 or more burn count, raise the stagger threshold. So yeah, I like the SP heal on him a lot, actually. So Flowing Flame, it's a 6+2. Same numbers as Lu Merceau's skill 2. Not as many clash wins as you would like, but it's like, it's got decent consistency when the enemy rolls really low on tails, like those kinds of skills. Inflict 1 burn if the target already has burn, inflict 1 more. Does this check happen at the same time as the first one? I guess it wouldn't make sense if it did the check after it inflicts the first burn. So yeah, he's also like a snowball character. I like his art a lot. His art is very nice. He has good snowballing, inflict 1 burn count. At 30 or more SP, inflict 1 more. At 45 plus SP, inflict 2 more. So that's 4 burn count when he's at max SP. I would say this is better than Merceau. He has the SP gain built in. He has lots of burn snowballing. He has lots of burn count. His passive at 30 or more SP, inflict +1 burn count with the effects of attack skills and coins. That's like, I feel like with the amount of burn count he inflicts, you're going to have more burn count than the number of turns it takes to win the fight easily. Like, you're easily going to have more burn count than you possibly could need. I feel like in terms of the burn itself though, he's a little underwhelming. Like, most of his skills that inflict burn only inflict 1 or 2 burn. Like, he has a lot of burn count, but the burn itself, he's only going to be doing like 3 damage per turn. If you had other ways to stack the actual burn, if you had Ryoshu on your team, that would be a good way to stack burn. He can stack it on his own. Not that well though is the issue. Like, he's really good at stacking burn count, he's not very good at stacking burn itself. One ally with the highest SP inflicts +1 burn count with the effects of their attack skills and coins. So his support passive is also really good. Like, you could argue that he doesn't even need to be on the burn team if he's like a support character. He's still like giving you enough count for it to be usable. Okay, these are both owned, which is really nice. Okay, with regards to Lu Honglu, I feel like he reaches a point where his burn count is almost overkill. Like, okay, the stagger threshold is good. That's actually really good. That's a really good effect. SP is always good. The burn itself, if not a lot of the burn count's kind of overkill. I would say Honglu's still better than Merceau, but I would say he's still B tier. We have to look at Gregor now. Gregor has very high offense level, which is nice. It's very good. However, his skill 1 has a maximum roll potential of 8. His skill 3 has a maximum roll potential of 12. And his skill 2 has a maximum roll potential of 8. That's 8, 8, 12. Yeah, his numbers are so low. His offense level's great. His clash numbers are so damn low. Ignition is a stupid passive. The third and subsequent coins of a skill inflict 1 burn on hit. I guess it is guaranteed burn, which is something. I'm gonna assume that that's owned and not resonance. Yeah, it's owned. Okay. One ally with the lowest speed deals plus 30% damage with their third and subsequent coins. His support passive's good though. His support passive could be like insane with a warped on solo. Okay, his defense level's terrible, but you're never gonna be using this anyway. He inflicts a lot of burn. If the target has 6+ burn, gain 1 attack level up next turn. Oh, that's solid. So that gets him from 40 to 44. I feel like he's still B tier. His offense level is good, but his clash numbers are so mediocre. Like, they are worse than the other two in terms of clashes. So, single point stab rolls an 8 max, rush down rolls an 8 max, perfected palm strike rolls a 12 max. Because his offense level is 40, and let's say, for example, Merceau was 34, so he has 6 more offense level, I think that's 1 extra power, right? So if we view it as him having a 9 here, a 9 here, and a 13 here, that's still worse than both of them. I think I would put him worse than both of them. There you are. I would put him as the worst out of the Liu. So you said you do a lot of damage because he has a lot of coins. So what's that? 6 plus 8 plus 10 plus 12. I guess he does do a lot of damage. But Liu Merceau does do good damage too, right? That's 8 plus 11 plus 14. I feel like they're pretty comparable in terms of damage. And Gregor has worse clash potential. There are some skills that do deal like a lot of damage, like for example, I Can Cook Anything has like the built-in damage boost on it, so I would take that into consideration. But for Perfected Palm Strike, I think it matters a lot more what the enemy's resistances are. I'd say they're still pretty comparable. I'd put Gregor lowest out of Liu. I think he's probably the worst out of the 3. Okay, Faust, default Faust. Inflict 1 paralyze. So this is dog shit. She's got 2 to 4 speed. It's same turn paralyze. It's a 3 on tails. Literally, it's 28 offense level, one of the worst skill ones in the game, and one of the worst characters to have it on. Upward slash, inflict 2 offense level down next turn. This one is good. 2 offense level down, that's 20% offense level down. It's next turn, which means you don't have to worry about how slow it is. It's persistent for the entire next turn. She has decent clash potential with the 4+4 model with 2 coins, so she's going to be rolling an 8 most of the time, an 8 or higher 75% of the time. Drilling Stab is again going to be rolling an 8 or higher 75% of the time. It actually has pretty terrible clash potential. Her fucking 3rd skill is the equivalent of the Liu's 2nd skill, but she has lower offense level. Like on tails, a 6. It's bad. It's bad, but it could be worse, but also it's her 3rd skill, so it should be good. But also, 2 attack power down is really huge. Skill 3 is huge for one-siding. 2 attack power down next turn is amazing. Like, you can secure so many clash wins with this. I think I would put her low B because she's really good for debuffing enemies. Her 1st skill sucks. This is like, it's so bad. Like, I'm legitimately upset when I look at this. Imagine rolling a 2 in speed, and then you do a one-sided attack with your downward slash, get tails, you do 3 damage, inflict 1 paralyze, and then the turn's over and the paralyze disappears. Deal plus 10% damage to units with negative status effects. So this is kind of decent. I mean, it's self-only, and her damage potential is pretty god-awful. She has no damage potential here. But, I don't know, 10%. It's better than nothing. One ally with the highest max HP inflicts 1 offense level down with attacks at a 25% chance. This one's kind of fun. This one is kind of fun as a support passive. So I would put her bottom of B tier. Just because her debuffs are so good. Her debuffs are so good, her clash potential's awful. Her damage potential's awful. You think C? Okay, then she's the C representative. She's top of C. She is the highest C character. Really, definitely C. Even though attack power down is such a good debuff, and offense level down is as well, she cripples enemies, but she doesn't do anything herself. That's basically my evaluation of her. She's going in C tier because she requires a specific team comp. You're right. You guys are right. So she's top of C tier. Ryoshu next. So, she has Poise. It's not useless, but it's not great. Deal and take plus 25% damage. Is that That's probably resonance, right? It is resonance. That's kind of lame. You'd have to either have 3 gluttony characters on your team, or you would have to use paint. Splatter. So if the target previously took damage this turn, deal plus 30% damage. So she's a big damage dealer. Brushstroke. Combat start, gain 2 slash damage up. And then that has a roll potential of 11. So that's 20% extra damage for all of her slashes. So if you're getting multiple attacks with Ryoshu, then you could do like Brushstroke, Splatter. And if Brushstroke goes first, then Splatter will do like what? 50% extra damage? It's only 2 hits though, so it's not like a massive amount of extra damage. And then she has her passive, but again, how are you going to trigger that? It's worse than Liu. It's big damage. It requires a very specific setup. And I think for that, maybe we put it in C tier. I don't think it deserves B tier. Like, theoretically, you would have to get a 3 Gluttony Resonance, but be using a skill other than Paint. Because if you get that Resonance with Paint, you're doing fucking 2 extra damage. So you would want to get this passive to activate, but then be using, like, Splatter, possibly with Brushstroke setup. So when everything is functioning perfectly, she's getting, what, like 75% extra damage to 8 plus 12. So that's 20 with 75% extra damage. So that's 35 damage, not factoring in resistances. I would say with the perfect setup, she's still mediocre. 35 damage multiplied by resistances. And that's with everything functioning. Like, that's with her getting 2 moves. She uses Brushstroke first, 2 slash damage up. I'd say she's... Is she better than Warp Merceau? Yes. For now. For now. When Warp Merceau gets the charge support, he will be B tier. I'm calling it now. But, for now, she's better. Honglu next. Mr. Liu. So he inflicts sinking. Oh, he's part of the god tier sinking comp. Except he doesn't have any gloom. If user took no damage last turn, coin power +1. This one's based. That's a 14. Base Honglu is great. Whirlwind. If user took no damage last turn, coin power +2. So that's +6 on each coin, which gives him a 17 maximum roll. And he inflicts... Wait, what? There ain't no way. Oh, but it's same turn. It's same turn, so it's not as good as Faust's. He's like moderately fast. His speed is pretty mediocre, which means you won't get full value from the attack power down. He inflicts sinking and rupture. So I think we ignore the sinking and rupture. It's literally, it's like 2 extra damage and 3 SP damage. 2 attack power down, amazing. I guess with a 17, he's also pretty much guaranteed to win clashes. But the only actual situation where that's useful is if he attacks like a specific enemy or abnormality part before someone else clashes with it. Which is, again, like kind of hard to orchestrate. It's hard to have that situation happen. Heal 6 SP next turn. It's Resonance, but this one is owned. Ally with the lowest SP heals 6 SP. So he has a pretty based support skill. Honestly, Clash wins. Clash wins are where he shines. And for that, I would maybe put him in A tier. He has good offense level. His offense level is very high. Is he better than Liu Honglu? I think he has more Clash potential, doesn't he? Or no? No, he has the same numbers. Wait, Whirlwind becomes the same numbers as Liu Honglu's skill 3, doesn't it? So he might not actually be that much better than Liu Honglu. His second skill has higher Clash potential. 14. 14 on a skill 2 is pretty good. Especially because it has 2 coins. I might put him in B tier, actually. If he was faster, he would be A tier. But I think because his speed is only 3 to 6, I think he might go in B tier. But he might go top of B tier. He supports my E.G.O. Since he supports Squeak's E.G.O, maybe we bump him up to an A. Heathcliff next. Okay, Heathcliff. On hit, inflict 3 tremor. I feel like a lot of people have rose-tinted glasses for him because he's a blunt character. But I don't think he's actually that good. Hot take alert. Smackdown has a good effect. 1 attack power up and damage up next turn is good. This means that he doesn't need to act more than once to make use of the effect. This damage up also works for E.G.O. So you'll get 10% extra damage if you use E.G.O that next turn. which is pretty good. Like, that's solid. It's not huge, but since E.G.O rolls high, it can be pretty solid. He has Tremor and Burst Tremor, which are bad. It's just, he inflicts 3 Tremor, and then he bursts it. I feel like he doesn't have a problem staggering enemies without bursting Tremor. Like, he literally, it doesn't matter. He can stagger them anyway. Upheaval's kind of cool. So when it's clashing, it only gets a 16, which is still a very high clash value. 16 is very good. Where it really shines is once you're doing damage, then if you land heads, then the next coin gets +2 power. So the first hit will do 10 damage, and then the second hit will do up to 18 damage. That's 28 damage with the damage up. That becomes, what, like 31? So his damage is still outclassed by Ryoshu, but he has better clashing than Ryoshu. And his on-use effect. The one attack power up also, like, it snowballs his clashing. Same with his E.G.O. Deal 10% damage to targets with higher max HP. It's resonance. That's so goofy. What the fuck? You have to use 4 envy skills for 10% extra damage. Imagine that in an Abno fight. I would put him A tier though, I think. We might as well toss him in A tier. I think he deserves it actually. Since he can buff his E.G.O with damage up, he wins a lot of clashes with upheaval. If he's A, he's gonna be the bottom of A. Okay, Sinclair next. So, classic skill 1. Terrible. 38 offense level. Great. Clash win plus 30% damage. That's pretty solid. It's not as good as Ryoshu. So it rolls a 10. The damage is what? It's 6 plus 8 plus 10. So that's 24 plus 30% damage. So that's like 31 damage. Isn't that like pretty comparable to Ryoshu? Ravaging Cut, Clash Win gain 1 attack power up. It's 11 clash potential. He's kind of awful. It's fucking same turn. When an ally is defeated, gain 1 attack power up next turn. Why did I have him so high ranked last time we did a tier list? One ally with the lowest SP gains 1 attack power up the turn after an ally is defeated. He does have, like, probably the worst passive. One ally with the lowest SP gains 1 attack power up the turn and out. He also has, like, the worst support passive. Attack power up does increase his damage, though. Oh, I guess it does affect... Yeah, when he's hitting them. That's 1 extra damage per hit, though. Dude, he sucks. He's worse than Hongwu. He might be worse than Gregor. He might be worse than Faust. He's definitely better than Ryoshu. He's better than Ryoshu. I think he's worse than Gregor. Than Gregor. Is he worse than Faust or not? But I think support's better. Like, and just look at his passives. Look at his passives. And his clashes are like, that's a 10, that's an 11, that's a 10. He has a high offense level. He does have a lot more consistency. Like, on average, you're going to be rolling a 7 or a 9 with this, and you're going to be rolling a 6 or an 8 with this. So that helps him get his sanity up. I still think he's worse than Faust, though. I'd say he's C tier, and he's worse than Faust. Outis. Outis, I think, is actually high tier. Outis. Alright, Pulled Blade. Actually good skill 1 for once. On average, this is going to roll like a 5 or a 7. Maximum roll potential is a 9, which is a little worse than most other skill 1s, but because she has high offense level and multiple coins on it, I think it's actually pretty good. Backslash. If the user's speed is higher than the target's plus 20% damage. This is just like a kind of different version of Ryoshu's skill 2. Isn't the damage bonus worse too? Isn't Ryoshu's 30%? And then Piercing Thrust. If the target's HP is above 50%, deal plus 20% damage. 6 plus 14. There's only 1 copy of it in your deck, so by the time you end up using it, you'll hopefully be at high sanity. Honestly, it's a clash winner too. She rolls a 20 with it. If target's SP is below 0, deal plus 10% damage. One ally with the highest HP deals plus 30% damage to enemies below 0 SP. So these are good for human fights. I would put her pretty high. She has a 20. I would put her above Heathcliff. I'd put her in A tier, above Heath, but below Merceau. Alright, Gregor next, and then we go by character. Swipe. Inflict 4 Rupture. Okay. So that's more rupture than other rupture characters. Jag, 4+10, inflict +1 rupture count, inflict 1 pierce fragility, and then chop up if the target has ruptured plus 10% damage. This shit doesn't matter, dude. This is awful. 5+4, so it's rolling a 13 max. The fact that he does extra damage if they have rupture, but on hit he inflicts rupture count. This is stupid. He inflicts 4 rupture. He uses Jag, inflicts +1 rupture count, and then he's not gonna have 2 rupture count for this shit. This doesn't make any sense. Rupture is extremely hard to stack. Yeah, it's extremely difficult to stack because every time you hit them, you pop it. They need 2 stacks of rupture for chop up to get the full damage bonus. And it's only for a measly ass 10% damage. And then he'll heal by 30% of the damage dealt. Base Gregor kind of sucks. His support passive is great though. Forced survival also seems kind of decent. Not great, but kind of decent. I would put him pretty low. He can't gain sanity. He has the same issue that Dawn and Ishmael have, where his skill 1 and 2 are both single coins. And then even Chop Up doesn't really do anything well. Like 30% heal, but the damage he deals, it's gonna be, what, 9 plus 13. So that's 22 damage. He deals 30% of that. That's like 7 HP. He gets like 7 HP back from it. I don't know, man. I'd put him... Let me look at Rodya again. I'd say he's maybe better. I think he's better. But I think he's worse than Merceau. Wait, he might be worse than Rodya, though. Because he does have single coin skill 1 and 2. Yeah, her last skill does outdamage him, and she does have a higher offense level than him. So, yeah, let's put her there. But anyway, let's go by character now. So we'll start with Yi-sang. Inflict 2 rupture on heads. I hate looking at skill 1s. Why they make the skills that take up half your deck so bad? Riposte. Clash Wind, inflict 3 paralyzed next turn. This one, I like the Clash Wind effect. So 3 paralyzed next turn. Paralyzed next turn is amazing. The fact that it's 3 is also really good. There are a lot of skills that inflict 1 paralyzed next turn, and 1 paralyze is almost nothing. Like, they'll roll 1 coin, get 0, but then if their skill has multiple coins, then it doesn't matter. They just roll again. Inflict 1 fragile next turn is also great. That means that you can take full advantage of that fragile on the next turn. 5+2 though, so the maximum roll potential is 9. On average, you're going to be rolling a 7 with this. The issue is it's not great for clashing. It has a Clash Win effect. He has 32 offense level, which is like pretty mediocre. And then 5+2 on 2 coins is maxing out at a 9, which is not going to win you a lot of clashes. I feel like the issue that a lot of Yi-sang identities have is their clashing ability. And yeah, his passive would be broken if it was owned. If it wasn't Resonance, then his passive would be absolutely nuts. 5+3. Well, so he rolls a 14 with this. For every hit he gets, it's an extra stack of Pierce Fragility. 3 Pierce Fragility is decent. He wins clashes with Moulinet, but his other 2 skills are kind of whatever. So yeah, B tier. Bottom of B tier. Salsu. Okay, so on hit, he gains 3 poise. Next turn. Okay. It's one of those 11 on heads skill ones, so that's decent. That's fine, right? The problem is that his skill 1 outrolls all of his other skills. 3 poise, it's something. It's better than nothing, I'll say that. But I'm not super impressed by poise. Coin power, skill power. That's a 9. He has good offense level, but he can't roll higher than an 11. And this is my main issue with him, is that he's an SSR, but he doesn't feel like one. Gain +2 poise count next turn on Clash Win. So this is another case of how the fuck is he gonna win this clash? You'd have to go against a low rolling skill, and then you get +2 poise count from that. One ally with the highest SP gains +1 poise count from skills. This one's kind of cool. Bestow is cool. It is 3 pride owned. Okay, not bad. Flank thrust. The highest it rolls is an 11. On heads, you gain poise next turn, plus 50% damage on critical hit for the 3rd hit. The 3rd hit is going to do 11 damage. plus 50% damage to that is 16 damage. I guess on crit, so it's whatever the crit number is too. Literally all he does, all he's good for is he gains poise, he rolls low, he has a high offense level. Well, Blade Lineage Yi-Sung, he might be worse than Liu. Honestly, I like Liu more than him. If we treat his offense level as being +1 power compared to the Liu characters, right? Then that's a 12, a 10, a 12. The Liu characters outroll that. They deal burn. Does crit really matter? How much does poise matter? Wait, 1 poise is 5% crit chance. It's 20% damage. That's terrible. Yeah. 20% damage is so mediocre. What the fuck? But you can do more with fragility. So it does 20 fucking damage. Flying thrust does 20 damage on the 3rd hit, which I guess is decent. If you have resistances factored in, that's decent, but he's worse than Liu. He's better than Section 6, I think. Okay, next character. Warp Faust triple S tier. Now that I agree with. So for Warp Faust, I feel like she's a unique case where I want to look at her in combination with Telepole, because honestly, she's not usable without Telepole. If you don't have Telepole, then it's just not worth it to run Warp Faust. Like, if you do not have Telepole, I would put her in like C tier. So it's 7 charge. Telepole is 7 charge, and it makes her skills cost 2 less charge count. So this is what saves her. So with the Telepole passive, her leap costs 1 charge. Her overcharge costs 3 charge. So she gains 7 charge. She gets +2 charge count with this. I want to also check if her passive is owned or not. It is owned. Okay, and then every attack gives her +1 charge count. So this is another buff for her. That once you own 4 Envy, every attack gives her +1 charge count. So the new meta is Warp Faust will never run out of charge. That is bad if she can't work without Telepole. Yeah, no, she's dog shit. So she's like, her rolls are still decent without Telepole, so I'd put her in C tier as requires specific comp. But I think she needs Telepole to work properly. So she rolls 13 on leap. There's a little bit of consistency. She'll roll 9 on average. Overcharge rolls maximum 12. So she doesn't roll that high. No, I don't think her rolls are better than C tier. But I think with Telepole, B or even A tier is possible. Overcharge, I think, is like the main reason she's good. So if you activate Telepole, it costs 3 charge for overcharge. If you have enough Envy for her passive to activate, she's gaining 3 charge from using overcharge because each hit gives her +1 charge. And so she will never run out of charge. She spends 5 charge to inflict 2 attack power down next turn and inflicts 3 paralyze. This is really good. So this is like Faust's attack power down, but she actually wins clashes. She does more damage with it. It's a 6 with 3 +2s versus a 6 with 2 +2s. And she also inflicts paralyze, which again boosts clash wins for other characters. I'm not sure if the paralyze, I think the paralyze is same turn though. I don't think the paralyze is next turn, which is kind of not great because she's really slow. So it would be hard for another character to go after her. So the paralyze is bad. The attack power down next turn is good. I'd put her in like B tier for that. And I do kind of think she's better than Yi-Sung, but maybe worse than Gregor. Her clash numbers are not great. 13, 12, 10. 2 attack power down. So she more reliably can inflict attack power down. And bind is, I mean, bind has its uses. It's good for like Abno fights when you want to adjust the targeting and stuff. Oh, and she gets that 2% damage bonus from Telepole too. So yeah. Assuming she has Telepole, I'd say she's like B tier. I might make her her own tier. Nice. Alright, Revenant Faust next. Revenant Faust I feel like is really good. She's A tier for sure. Soul Strike sucks. It's a 3+6. It's literally worse than LCB skill 1s because it's a 3 on tails and a 9 on heads. It also only inflicts 2 rupture. Deep Cuts. what's that? Like a 13. So it rolls a 13. I've been using Remnant Faust a lot actually since I got her. And I don't think Deep Cuts is very good. Like it gives poise, which helps her crit. I guess crits on opportunistic slash deal massive damage. 4 haste is kind of, I don't know what she's gonna do with that haste. I don't know why she has so much haste support. It still makes me mad that fucking Remnant Faust has so much haste support, doesn't do anything with it. And then 2 of Dawn's identities require copious amounts of haste, and then she doesn't have it. Like, what is this? Why did Faust steal all of Dawn's haste? Skill 3 is godlike. Skill 2 is kind of mediocre, but it still rolls higher than a lot of other characters' skills. Her 3rd skill hard carries the entire character. Opportunistic slash. If user took no damage last turn, coin power +3. So that's a +11 per coin. So that's 15 and then 26, which is an enormous roll, especially for an SR character with 2 coins. Like, there are plenty of characters who can roll in the 20s with a single coin. That's, like, it's usually a 50-50 unless you're high sanity. But for her, she has 2 coins, which is added consistency. It's extra damage because she lands 2 hits with it. It's pretty insane. At the start of the turn, if at 4 or more poise count, gain 2 haste. Why is that a thing? I guess if you have other characters supporting her, you could do that. She has no poise count gain. That makes no sense, actually. How is she gonna get to 4 or more? Is that real? That's so goofy. Well, I'm putting her in A tier, and I think she's better than Otis. Alright. Grippy Faust. Faust with the death grip. So her first skill actually has useful debuffs on it. She inflicts nails with the first hit, which is great. It's got 2 coins, so on average you're rolling a 7, which is better than most skill 1s. She has the gripping. Oh, she also has really high offense level, even higher than Remnant Faust. But the gripping rolls a fucking 16. That's insane. And it's a skill 2, so you get 2 copies of it. Even at low sanity, this is winning a lot of clashes. Her 3rd skill actually rolls worse. It somehow rolls worse than the gripping. But she inflicts a lot of nails with it. And then plus 50% damage to targets with 5 or more nails. So the last hit would do 12, it'll now do 18. Also, if she gets a kill, then she heals all allies' SP and applies 1 pierce damage up and blunt damage up. This is good because she's decently fast. She's not like one of the fastest units in the game, but she's pretty fast. And so every character who acts after her will get 10% extra pierce and blunt damage. And then also you can combo that with Gaze. So when she uses gripping, the next turn, Gaze will give the enemies plus 20% damage for pierce and blunt skills, or like the specific enemy that she inflicts with it. And then I guess it also heals the SP of whoever kills it. Although I haven't seen that trigger that often, because usually by that point you're pretty high sanity anyway. Her evade, it rolls high. Evades are pretty good as defense skills. I think they are probably the best defensive skills. And the target loses SP. So this is a resonance effect. At the start of the combat phase, heal 2 enemies with the lowest SP for 15 SP. If the ally is from N-Corp, also apply 1 Fanatic. So if you have like a heavy Lust comp, this is great for gaining SP. It's basically just free SP again. Grip Faust is like she already has good E.G.O for SP gain, and then she just has like skills and passives that boost SP gain on top of that. So she's really good for like getting the rest of your team to high SP. And then this one, at the start of the combat phase, heal the ally with the lowest SP for 15 SP. So this one's only 1 target, but it's her support passive. So even as support, her passive is great. But yeah, I think she belongs in S tier. And I'd put her maybe high S tier as well. She's definitely poggers. She might even belong in S+ tier, actually. Because I've used her with other top tier characters and she's gotten MVP. And she also has support. Yeah, she might be among the best. I guess SP support alone puts her really high tier. We're actually looking at W Dawn right now. Rip space, 1 or 2 rip spaces is like an instant kill on an enemy. Leap is an insane skill. Leap is amazing. It's like, okay, the fact that her speed is kind of mediocre, like cuts into it. But the rolls are gripping tier. like, she rolls a 16 with it, which is huge. The 4 charge count is great. It helps her get to rip space really quickly. 2 fragile is also great. That's like the equivalent of gaze, but it's universal. Rip does not feel good to use. I don't like using rip. When skill cycling was still a thing, she was definitely a better character. She was definitely way better when you could like remove the rips and replace them with something actually useful like leap or rip space. Rip space though, it rolls a fucking 31. It rolls a 31 and the amount of damage it deals is absolutely insane. Like the amount of enemies that you can just instantly kill with it. I guess the issue, so since rip gives 2 charge count, you basically want to use a leap and then you're just kind of using rips until you get another leap and then you can rip space. So that's what's annoying about her. Yeah, she doesn't work with every single team comp. And actually I do prefer to use Shi-Dan a lot more than Warp Dawn, just because it is a little annoying to like manage her. I'll put Dawn in S for now. I'll put her S for now, but I still believe she might deserve S+. Okay, so then in an absolute vacuum, I think Faust goes like here. Maybe here. And then Merceau goes here. Dawn is gonna go in S for now, although I still kind of feel like she might deserve an S+. Because of like the insane amount of damage she does. Anyway, section 5, Dawn. I think she deserves like high B or low A. I think she's better than than these two, probably. So dual strike, it's a 4+6. So this rolls a 16. It's like huge numbers. She gets 2 copies of it. So this is her sanity gainer. When you're at 0 sanity, you're gonna hope you get dual strike and use this to like win clashes, up your sanity. Once you're at 45 sanity, it doesn't matter if you don't get the skill power +3 for overbreathe. That's still a 25. It's a free 25. I've had this shit one-shot chickens. Although that's more of a like a damage type thing. But catch breath sucks. She has poise, I guess, which I ignore most of the time. But if she crits with overbreathe, it does do pretty solid damage. And with 95% heads chance, yeah, she consistently wins clashes with overbreathe. Her passive's kind of useless, because you're not going to be wanting to use catch breath here. But one ally with the highest speed deals plus 10% slash damage. Her support passive is good. That's a good support passive. We just don't care about her Shi effect. Gain 2 haste next turn. When the fuck are you gonna get that? She's one of the rare characters where we actually look at stagger threshold. She has the classic Shi stagger threshold. So if you survive that initial stagger, you could get into Shi range for her. But I don't see much point in it. Like, honestly, I liked when it was bugged and she would just get the skill power +3, because then even at, like, Tails with a 7, she would win a relatively high amount of clashes. But since Sanity's fixed anyway, she's rarely rolling that 4. And Dual Strike is so consistent that, like, even at lower Sanity, it wins clashes. So I would put her in A tier, honestly. But I don't think she's as good as Faust. Is she as good as Otis? I think she is as good as Otis. Yeah, because while Otis has damage buffs, Dawn has crit potential. So I think they're pretty comparable, but I would say Dawn is better because she rolls higher. I would put her there. But yeah, the haste doesn't fucking matter. And her passive is also, it's kind of disappointing. Kurokumo Ryoshu next. Wait, we have to look at 7 Ryoshu. Okay. 4+6, extremely standard skill 1. I'm so fucking sick of looking at skill 1s. Can we I need an add-on for Microsoft Edge that just removes skill 1s from my webpage. So slash, that does blunt damage. She has upper slash, skill power +2 against units for the slash fragility. Flash wind, gain 1 attack power up next turn. Wait, she actually has kind of cool effects. She has 40 offense level, that's huge. She's actually good. Inflict 1 defense level down. I mean, that's 10%, right? That's a little bit of extra damage. The fact that, like, both her skill 1 and skill 2 are single coin skills that roll a 4 on tails is not great for her. That's 5 out of her 6 skills that roll a 4 on tails have 1 coin. That means at 0 sanity, you're basically just dealing with a straight up 50-50. She gets better at higher sanity. Once you get her up to higher sanity, that's 16, which is really high roll potential. Skill power +2 against units with slash fragility, so that's 18. Clash Wind, gain 1 attack power up next turn, that's solid. Inflict 1 defense level down, that doesn't really matter for clashes, but the skill power +2 is pretty good. On Clash Wind, she inflicts 2 additional slash fragility. Inflict 3 slash fragility next turn. That's next turn too. Wait, so that's really good, but you are fucked if you roll a 4. Like, there's not much that can save you. I guess skill power +2. So if you manage to get Swash off, then this rolls a 6 on tails. So you're just praying that turn 1 you get something besides slash, I guess. Or no, turn 1 you want Swash. Yeah. The way you would want to use her is turn 1 Swash, inflict slash fragility, and then you'll get the power bonus to upper slash, plus you'll have slightly higher sanity. But that's like a very specific case. The slash fragility is great. That's 50% extra damage though, from slash attacks, for a whole turn. If you could go Swash into Swash, that would be nice. But unfortunately it's her skill 3, so. And Swash is +5, it's 3 coins, so that's a 19. So her roll potential with that is crazy. So that's a 16 and that's a 19. Honestly, I'd put her pretty high. Deal plus 10% slash damage. Is that resonance based? No, it's owned. Oh shit. Her first skill's kind of goofy. It doesn't synergize with any of her kit. It doesn't synergize with her passive either. She is pretty damn good. Holy shit. She has a high offense level. She rolls really high on Swash. She rolls very well on upper slash. She gets attack power up. She gets skill power against units with slash fragility. Yeah, holy shit. So at max rolling, this is, what's that? A 19? And with the 1 attack power up on Clash Wind, Swash becomes a 20. So she's just, yeah, she's good for a slash team comp. I might put her in A tier for that actually. She might be better than Dawn actually. Well, no, but she has a harder time gaining sanity. She's riskier at low sanity. So I would say the build up for her is worse than Dawn, but the rewards are better. Maybe I would put her above Dawn though. Even though the build up is harder. Like, even though it's harder to win clashes at 0, I think the rewards for it are much better. Yeah, she can go above Dawn. So now we're gonna take a look at Wakashu, ryoshu. She inflicts 3 paralyzed. Mediocre speed, so she does roll an 11. It's like the classic SSR skill 1. That's a 5+6. 3 paralyzed. And she's a 3-6. So, like one character can probably take advantage of that if they're attacking the same target. Cleanup. Cleanup is good. I like this one. This one wins a lot of clashes actually. Cleanup and Lenticular Swirl are both good at low sanity. Like, on average, this shit rolls a 10. This one rolls a 12. So at low sanity, you're pretty, like, high odds of winning clashes with this. 2 bleed, +1 bleed count on heads, 2 damage down. Damage down is great. It's a really good debuff. Bleed count is also core to, like, the bleed meta. This shit, though, +3 bleed count is a massive amount of bleed. So between Cleanup and Lenticular Swirl, she's winning clashes. She's increasing bleed count. She's inflicting offense level down and damage down. She's kind of got it all. 3 offense level down is 30% down for the offense level. She's got 38 attack. I'd put her either top of A tier or like bottom of S tier, I think. 10% damage to targets with bleed. It is resonance. Okay. So that, I mean, that's kind of... It is what it is. Bottom of S probably. Yeah, I do think she's probably a tier above N-Corp Merceau. So yeah, I'd put her there. Right, because we decided Merceau is going to be the gatekeeper of A tier. Okay. Chef de cuisine, ryoshu. I really like her actually. So she's got decent consistency on skill 1. Rolls a 7 on average. She gains appetite, inflicts bleed count on hit. She inflicts bleed count with her skill 1, which is amazing. That's like 3 free bleed count that you can stack on enemies. The appetite boosts up her passive. This shit rolls so high. On average, it's like an 8 or a 13. It's an 18 maximum. It inflicts 1 bind next turn. That's kind of, it's okay. It helps a little bit with forcing targets in abnormality fights. Heads hit, inflict 2 bleed. So that's just a little bit of bleed inflicted. If the target has bleed or paralyzed, inflict 3 HP healing down. The HP healing down is massive. So it's 10% per stack. So this is 30% down for healing if the target has bleed or paralyzed. If you landed heads with the second hit, they are going to guaranteed have bleed. So if you have high sanity, you're rolling heads a lot, this is pretty much guaranteed to trigger. So this is a good anti-K-Corp skill. And yeah, her anti-healing is great. Her self-healing is really good. But she also boosts damage by 5% of the target's missing HP. So max 20 with her I Can Cook Anything. 18 on her skill 2, which she has 2 copies of. So this is a reliable clash winner. This one has 4 coins. So your odds are pretty good that the enemy will eventually roll tails and you'll win the clash. It does a lot of damage too. So you do extra damage if they're missing HP, up to 20, plus you do up to 20% extra damage with each heads hit for the first 3 hits. So that's pretty solid. It's good damage dealing. I think honestly, she has like, okay, 1 haste on evade is kind of whatever, but she has like a lot of useful effects. So I wouldn't say she's like insane with the damage. She's not game breaking, but she does have a lot of useful effects on him. After defeating an enemy, heal the ally with the lowest HP for 15 HP once per turn. If this unit has an appetite, spend it to boost the healing based on its count. Okay, and so that's 10% per appetite. So the more you use prep cooking, the more healing you get when you finally defeat an enemy. When an enemy is defeated, the ally with the lowest HP heals 15 HP. Okay, and so her support passive is the same thing, but just without appetite. This is, it's not a 12, it's a 15, which is also really good for clashes. Yeah, so this one's an 18, this one's a 15. So half of her skills are rolling super high, and then prep cooking is a 10 on 2 heads, which is decent. And she has like the 2 coin consistency, so that's a 7 on average. I'd put her here. I'd put her above Kurokumo, and I'd put her below Dawn. I think she's still better than Kurokumo because she has better clashes. She still inflicts like a bleed count on her skill 1, which is amazing. She has healing. She has heal reduction. So I think overall she's a bit better than Kurokumo. Okay, Honglu next. Kurokumo. This is the one that Pridwin says is literally the best identity in the game. Now, I don't know if I would go that far. My question is, why is he so good? Like, I get Cloud Cutter attacks 4 times, right? Cloud Cutter is the most busted skill 2 in the game. So I guess it's because it's a skill 2 is part of why it's so good. Because, okay, so Cleave it's pretty standard, it's just 2 bleed on hit, it's a 4+6. Cloud Cutter, so yes, if they have less than 4 bleed, you use coin 1 and 2 an additional time. It's like 9, then 13, then 17, then 21. Yeah, so it's 9, 13, 17, 21. On hit, you inflict bleed. So you can only use it once, though. Well, and then if the enemy attacks, then they lose the bleed, right? So you wouldn't use them in a bleed comp. Yeah, because you would want them to attack and get rid of their bleed. Cloud Burst, cool. Combat start, the skill inflicts 1 additional bleed and paralyze. Okay, so you wouldn't use him with a comp that increases bleed count, for sure. Cloud Burst, I mean, Cloud Burst has pretty mediocre rolls. And the paralyze is same turn, which I guess he has decent speed to make use of it, but I don't understand why they have this. It's this skill only? So why didn't they just increase the amount of bleed by 1 and the amount of paralyze by 1? See, this shit would make sense if it was all skills, but if it's only this skill, then why? Why split it up like this? So I guess you do get to use it twice, and it's kind of skill 3 tier, but I can't say this makes him S+ tier. His damage is not... So this is like the final hit, right? It does 21. The damage as if his skill is 5 plus 4 times 4. Yeah, let me do some math. 9 plus 13 plus 17 plus 21. So that's 60 damage. That's 60 damage without resistances. You don't look at rip space and go, what if the enemy is slash resistant? I'm not going, what if this enemy is slash resistant? With literally 0 resistances, he does 60 damage. Which I guess is, that's pretty high. But then you compare it, right? So he does 60 damage, right? Now Chef Ryoshu. Let's see, so that's 6 plus 9 plus 12. And then the final coin deals 20% extra damage. So it would be 15, but it's 18. So that's plus 18. And then plus 20 for the missing HP. And that's 65. So Ryoshu's third skill outdamages him. And she has a higher offense level. So I guess the only difference... Yeah, so the only difference is that he gets 2 copies of it. He gets 2 copies of the strong skill. Cloud Cutter is spammable because he has 2 copies. Yeah, so that's like the main argument for why he's good. Is just because he has 2 Cloud Cutters. Because, like, I don't know. Functioning at full capacity, I can cook anything out damage. But if they're not missing, it's like 45 damage. Yeah, it's 45 if they're not missing. Whereas I guess he gets an unconditional 60 damage. But also offense level? Because don't you also deal extra damage based on your offense level versus their defense level? There's probably some tinted glasses since he's been out since the start of the game. Yeah. I don't think he's that insane, but he's pretty good. I would say he's pretty comparable to Chef de Cuisine Ryoshu though. Because in terms of clashes, he's worse off. He's a lot worse off in terms of clashes. He's definitely S. He's definitely S. The question is where in S we put him. One of these. But Ryoshu just has so much better clashes. So this is 18, this is 15. This is 13, this is 12. He does do a lot of damage if you win with Cloud Cutter. He's definitely below Dawn. I honestly think that the new Ryoshu is better than him. But he's better than old Ryoshu. He's better than Kurokumo Ryoshu. But then also, we're gonna have to have a discussion about why he's better than Tingtang. So Tingtang also has a skill too that gets extra hits. Mutilate funny? Mutilate's really good actually. It does massive amounts of damage. It's 30 plus 7, and then if you actually get the kill, then the next hit does 60. Which is insane. Tingtang has one of the best skill ones. That he does as well. Yeah, so it's an 11, and he inflicts 4 bleed, which is a lot of bleed. Here's the question I have. Why is Cloud Cutter better than Shank? Okay, so Tingtang, he rolls an 18. He has better clash potential. If the target's below 25% HP, use this coin an additional time if the targets survive, and on heads plus 50% damage for this coin. So he's getting damage bonuses. His damage is going 8, 13, 18, 23. With Kurokumo, it's definitely more reliable. Yeah, Cloud Cutter gets the extra hits in any fight. Shank does more damage though, doesn't it? Well, yeah, Shank does more damage for sure, because you get like the damage bonuses and whatever. My argument for Shank would be if you break an abnormality's part, it counts as it being 0 HP, and so you are guaranteed the 4th hit if you get a heads hit on Shank. So he's really good for fighting abnormalities. Tingtang Honglu, like, he does huge damage against abnormalities. I feel like sometimes when I break a part, the other hit gets wasted. That might be either because when you break the part, it does that thing where it cancels all attacks. Because some abnormalities have stupid parts where they cancel attacks on them. And it could also be because you rolled tails on the 3rd coin, because you have to get heads on the 3rd coin to get the 4th hit. So I've had both happen before. But if it's a part that stays broken, then you can get that 4th hit and do a lot of damage, because also they're like weak to every damage type, etc. Mutilate also does huge damage. And it's funny. So Shank is huge consistency. Like, it's 18 max. On average, you're rolling an 8 or a 13. You build up sanity with that. Honglu also has other good ways to gain sanity. Like his passive, actually. So once you're at high sanity, Mutilate is a 95% chance to roll a 30, which is huge. The damage is obviously nowhere near as good as Warp Space, or Rip Space rather, because it's only a single coin, but you do get to recycle it, which is pretty good. I don't see why Gang Leader is worse than Honglu, like than Cloud Cutter. So yes, in a lot of fights, it's really hard to actually get the conditions right for Shank to trigger. Because either you'll just kill the enemy, or they won't be in the range. I mean, Tingtang Honglu has a really good skill 2, and a really good skill 3. I feel like, personally, I think he's better. But then again, I haven't used Kurokumo Honglu, so maybe that's part of it. I don't have him uptied. But how is 60 damage? How is 60 damage better than rolling a 30 with reuse on kill, plus 100% damage, and better rolls? Mutilate is kind of bad versus single enemies? I guess that's true, yeah. Mutilate is kind of bad versus... Well, but it's really good for Clash winning, because it's E.G.O tier. It's like an E.G.O tier number on the rolls. There's no setup required. It's an instant win for like any Clash. I don't think there's like a single enemy that can beat this in a Clash, as long as you don't get tails. Yeah, Tingtang has a higher offense level. With the new sanity changes, he's got a 30 on Mutilate 95% of the time. Is his evade really 2 plus 14? He has like a huge meme evade too. That's a 16 at max sanity. I feel like he outclasses Kurokumo. And honestly, so with Shank, I want to repeat this for emphasis, but when you break an Abno part, and it's not one of the stupid fucking Abno parts that cancels every attack once you break it, then you can just keep attacking it with Shank, get that guaranteed 4th hit every time, and you'll get bonus damage. You like get the 4th hit. It's just a lot of damage. How much damage is Shank with or without reuse? So it's 54 damage without reuse. So it's only 6 less damage than Cloud Cutter. Cloud Cutter does 60, this one does 54. With reuse though, so with reuse it's 88. So he does 88 damage with reuse, 54 without, compared to Kurokumo Honglu, who does 60 consistently. So I do think that that's kind of solid evidence that Tingtang is better. I honestly think Kurokumo's not as good as Tingtang. I think he outdamages Ryoshu too. Well, I think we move on. I'm pretty confident with this. I'm pretty confident that Tingtang Honglu is better than both of these characters. Alright, R-Corp Heathcliff next. Raise the Grass. This is such an interesting skill 1. It's the only one with 3 coins on it. It rolls 10 max, which most skill 1s do, but it's split up into 4 and 3 plus 2s. I would consider S+ for him, but using him, I've run out of ammo a lot. Concentrated Fire, coin power +1 at 6 or more speed. So yeah, that's fine. It rolls, what's that, 16? He's so bad once he runs out of ammo though. Like, Quick Suppression is a fucking broken skill. Let's just get that out of the way. If he has the speed for it, he's rolling 23 on that, and it's 5 hits. That's a ton of damage. He inflicts Fragile with the first 2 hits, which amplifies the damage. So Quick Suppression is pretty much a guaranteed kill. He also does have a really high offense level. So his 3rd skill stays good even if he runs out of ammo. That I agree with. His skill 3 is still damn good even if you have no ammo. His other 2 skills are crippled though. He's so crippled. His other skills are kind of just there to burn through ammo. So Gain Wrath, Resonance, charge count next turn. At 5 or more charge count, gain 1 haste and attack power up. So you would have to hit some Resonance. Haste and attack up is really good. One ally with the highest speed deals plus 10% pierce damage. So my issue, I guess, is that his first and second skill, they're just there to burn through ammo. Like, you kind of ideally don't want to be using either of these. You actually just want to be focusing on quick suppression. He has an evade too, which is pretty good. I don't know if he's like... I don't know if he deserves S+. I don't think he deserves S+. I don't think he deserves it. Convince me. Why does he deserve it? I have him fully uptied at level 30. I've used him before. And he, like, yes, he does massive damage in some fights. But in some fights, he does run out of ammo, and I'm like, I wish I just brought N-Corp Heath to this. Like, I have had that thought before, where I was like, I wish I just brought N-Heath, because he doesn't run out of ammo. He has the best skills in the whole game, and the highest damage skill 3 in the whole game. He does have the highest damage skill 3 in the whole game. That's true. He will consistently outdamage Warp Dawn unless you do 10+ turn fights. If the S+ rank is always wanted in any party, I guess you would want R Heath there. But I don't have that feeling. Like, I've used R Heath and I've been like, I wish I didn't put him in this party. Mostly because of Fragile, and the other characters can use his Fragile too since he's fast and gets haste. That's valid. Yeah, the Fragile part is good. He enables everyone to do rip space levels of damage. I guess, okay, I'll put him here with the caveat though, that if you use him in humanoid fights, not abnormality fights, but in human fights, and he's gaining extra actions, it's awful. Those extra actions work against him, and he runs out of ammo in like 3 turns. Like, okay, I'll put him in S+, but he will brick. I would not say awful in human fights. I've seen him be pretty awful in human fights. And then he will just not do any actions. I don't know how I feel about that. Speaking from personal experience, I have seen him brick. Like, it is a true thing that happens. It's not purely theoretical. Like, what if he ran out of ammo? When Heathcliff has like 2 or 3 actions in a turn, the only way you can keep him from bricking is either spam E.G.O, which you need to have the resources for, or you have to use a ton of evades, which is just dumb, because like you're just not attacking with him anyway. If you use Rip Space without having the necessary charge, you can still use it. It's just not as good, and you take damage for it. If you have no ammo, you can still use the skill. Yeah, you can, but it's dog shit. The skill is dog shit if you have no ammo. Oh, I guess Rip Space is also dog shit if you don't have charge. But this is worse dog shit. But Graze the Grass is a fucking waste of ammo. It does no damage, it costs 2 ammo. Concentrated Fire is a fucking waste of ammo. It spends 3 ammo. Does so little damage. Quick Suppression is the only good use of his ammo. Like, every turn where you don't have Quick Suppression, just evade until you get Quick Suppression again. That's a ton of waste of turns. Like, that's more turns wasted than Warp Dawn, because Warp Dawn, you're doing damage while you're waiting for the charge to use Rip Space. If you're waiting for the charge to use Rip Space and using Leap is actually still a good skill. With Heathcliff, spending ammo on anything except Quick Suppression is suboptimal. Using Rip ever is a waste of action too, and yet she is still good. I would rather use Rip than like Concentrated Fire with no ammo though. Because one is the skill actually functioning at full capacity, and one is the skill but it's been fucking neutered to oblivion. I meant the original Rip, the OG Rip. Like, I've seen Heathcliff be really strong. I've seen him be really strong in the beginning of the fight, like the first 2 or 3 turns. But then once you've used Quick Suppression, it's like Concentrated Fire and Graze the Grass are both like so meh. They're such meh skills. You know what? Yeah, I guess even in the fights where I've had Heathcliff brick, he was still among the top of like the MVP list, the damage dealt list. So we'll put him here for now. I'm willing to accept this because even the times he bricked, he still got MVP or close to MVP. Like, he would get maybe 2nd place damage or something. I think let's just move on. I'm not super satisfied with this, but I feel like I've already voiced my concerns, so we can just move on. Anyway, N-Corp Heath is actually criminally underrated. I talked about this a bit in one of my previous streams, but he's actually really good. So his first skill, It has 2 coins, 3 plus 4, so 11 maximum roll value, pretty consistent. The average roll value would be 7. I've already done the comparison between him and base Heathcliff. Basically, on Tails, he rolls better with Purify than base Heathcliff does on Tails with his second skill. Gawking Nailing is more consistent. It's 2 coins. It has 11 maximum roll value. The effects on it are pretty good. Even if you get Tails on the first hit, he inflicts 1 bleed, and then you get 1 bleed on hit with the second hit. And on heads, he inflicts nails, which is a really useful status. Purify gives him SP on Clash Win, so this is really good for gaining sanity. 2 plus coin drop next turn. This is amazing. This is a really good status effect. It basically cripples plus coins without like buffing minus coins to oblivion. Because with paralysis, you just get rid of the plus or minus that they get on coin flip. So if they have a minus coin, then they get the maximum roll. With plus coins, it only triggers if it's a plus, and it decreases whatever their heads roll would be by 2. So it's really useful. He gains SP on Clash Win. 6 on Tails is a decent value. It's not great, it won't win a ton of clashes, but 14 maximum roll potential is pretty solid. So once he's started to snowball and gain SP, yeah, it also does last for the whole turn. So paralysis is just once per coin. Plus coin drop is persistent for the entire turn, and it stacks. So if you use Purify twice, that's 4 plus coin drop. That means every plus coin that specific enemy or abnormality part flips gets -4, and it's persistent. This helps him snowball if you're lucky enough to get heads with Purify. If you're not lucky enough to get heads with Purify, 6 is a decent minimum value, but also Gawky Nailing has decent consistency, and Infirm Retribution is a really good Clash winner. So even at 0 sanity, it's a 16 maximum roll potential, 4 with +4 on each heads. Each heads gives him a plus 10% damage bonus for that hit. So each hit will get 10% if you get 3 heads, and that is what, 8 plus 12 plus 16, and then 10% on top of that. So it functions the same as base Heathcliff's damage up, but it's built into the skill, so it doesn't take any setup for that to trigger. So honestly, even 11 on Gawky Nailing, so his maximum rolls are they're on the higher end compared to a lot of identities. There are a lot of identities that roll worse than him. His passive is absolutely useless. It's utterly terrible. It's legitimately worse than Sinclair's passive, like base Sinclair's passive, because it's only blunt power up. It's specifically for blunt skills, and he loses SP from it, which I guess is nice because he cares about his friends. And then his support passive is really good. One ally with the highest speed inflicts +1 nails. More often than not, this targets N-Corp Faust if you have her, Grip Faust, and so she will do a ton of extra nails with all of her skills, and it really helps her get that extra damage she gets from high nails on enemies with her third skill as well. So there's some good synergy there, although it's pretty specific. But yeah, he's pretty god-awful in terms of his actual passive. But his skills are all really good, and I think for that he deserves A tier. Like, he has snowballing, he has a really useful debuff, he has nails, bleed. It's not a lot of nails or bleed, but like it's something. It's better than nothing. And nails inflicts bleed count, so bleed count support is always welcome, unless you're running Kurokumo Honglu. And then he's got the built-in damage bonus, with pretty high rolls for Infirm Retribution. So for all of that, I would probably put him between Ryoshu and Dawn. I'd put him like there. I don't think he's as good as Ryoshu, but I think he's better than Dawn. So now we move on to Ishmael. So we start with R-Corp. Alright, so I honestly believe that R-Corp Ishmael is really good. I feel like she's kind of comparable to Warp Dawn, actually, because you can't use her mindlessly, but she doesn't really have a point where she falls off. Yeah, she's like Warp Dawn, where you have to like micromanage what skills you use, but as long as you do micromanage, she's a really good character. So Mind Strike is literally, I think, the highest rolling skill 1 in the entire game. It rolls 13 on max. On average, it rolls an 8. If you roll heads, you get charge from it, which is pretty solid. You're gonna want to be rolling heads a lot. Her skill 2 gives her 5 charge count, but it's on use. So even if you lose the clash, you get the charge count, which is a little more reliable than the heads hit from Mind Strike, but once you're at high sanity, it doesn't really matter either way. Her skill 1 is damn good. Like, this is one of the few skill 1s that I feel comfortable spamming. Flaying Surge is one of the classic single coin skill 2s. It has a 16 roll potential. This is going to be really good at high sanity because it's got really high clash potential. Mind Strike is honestly, I feel like, kind of the highlight of her kit. And then we got Mind Whip, the ally killer. So Mind Strike and Flaying Surge, like, honestly, she's still good even if you only use these two. Like, these are still, they roll good numbers. They're still good skills, and she's good for the sinking comp, for the classic Yi-Song sinking comp. But Mind Whip, it's kind of icing on the cake. Once you get 10 charge count, you can spend it all to basically do 22 to get a max roll of 22, which is by no means low. She inflicts sinking, which is kind of, it's whatever. Yeah, sure, she does 1 gloom damage to abnormalities, but she also raises stagger threshold by damage dealt. So I guess this is like, it's like Tremor, but it skips all the annoying bullshit of Tremor. Her passive is weird. I have some issues with her passive. It's 3 gloom resonance, and at the start of the combat phase, she loses SP but gains attack power up next turn. So my issue that I have is if I use 3 Gloom skills, I am forcing her to lose 15 SP. And like, attack power up is nice, but a lot of the time it's not worth the trade. Like, you do not want to trade 15 SP for 1 attack power. Her support passive, 1 ally with the lowest SP deals plus 10% blunt damage. That's kind of, like, it's fine. It's probably the best support passive that any Ishmael identity has, and so we take those. Her first 2 skills are just good enough that the fact that it takes so long to actually be able to use Mind Whip, at least personally, it doesn't bother me. Like, I don't mind waiting until I have the charge for Mind Whip because she's already a solid clasher. I'd put her in S somewhere, but maybe... I think this is a good placement. She knows. Okay, at less than 50% HP, the skill applies 1 additional stack of poise. Okay, so she is like the she character who wants to be at low HP. She has the fixed she stagger thresholds that are actually like decent now. So if you can drop her to 50% HP in like the first or second turn and then protect her long enough, she goes fully online and becomes disgusting, where she uses Flashing Strike extra. This is like, it's Kurokumo Honglu but with more strings attached. So she rolls the same as Honglu. She's a lot harder to get into the zone than Kurokumo Honglu is. She has a lot of poise, which is a lot of crit potential. Flashing Strike is basically the exact same thing as Cloud Cutter. Catch Breath, it rolls high, so it rolls, well, 14 isn't super high. Catch Breath, I feel like the second coin effective Catch Breath you kind of ignore, but I guess it's good for if she takes a little more damage than you're comfortable with. She can heal up, but hopefully still stay under 50%. So if she's like just in that sweet spot between 50% and 25%, that's where she performs the best. At less than 50% HP, gain 1 additional poise from skills. Oh, that's also goofy. Okay, so she gets lots of crits. Her support passive sucks. +2 counter skill final power is really lame, especially on ally with the lowest HP. If your ally has the lowest HP, you do not want to tank the hits required to use a counter skill. I think that the work that it requires to get her into like damage mode drops her down quite a big deal. I would almost put her like next to Heathcliff. She definitely doesn't deserve more than A, and I would say that her first and third skills are a little disappointing. I don't know if it's bias if I say Heathcliff's better than her. Heathcliff does have the really good plus coin drop team support, and he does have good clashes with most of his skills. 14 is like, it's a good roll, but it's not a great roll for a skill 3. I would want my skill 3 to roll a little better than 14. Although it's decent. There are plenty of skill 3s that do roll 14. I do also really like her design. Can we give her bonus points for her art? I think people are going to get mad at me, especially when I upload this VOD to YouTube. but I put her below Heathcliff. I really like plus coin drop. Okay, LCCB Ishmael. So she does have a little bit of R-Corp Heathcliff issues with the ammo mechanic. On hit, inflict 1 attack power down would be amazing if she didn't have dog shit speed. This is my main issue with Ishmael, is all of her effects are same turn. So she has same turn paralyze, same turn attack power down, same turn fragile. However, she has terrible speed. She has like slightly better speed than some characters, but with minimum value 2, there is still a decent chance she will be acting last and will be wasting 5 fragile, which is 50% extra damage. If she was faster, so if she had a way to gain haste, while like your other characters didn't gain haste. So like giving everyone haste wouldn't change anything because she needs to act earlier. But if she acted earlier, I guess that's mainly the thing, right? If she had a way to gain haste, she would be great. She would have 50% extra damage. She would have attack power down for debuffing enemies. Like, it wouldn't even matter that her offense level is kind of low because she has such good effects. She does inflict a lot of tremor. She is like the only identity I think I've seen that inflicts this much tremor. Shove sucks. Same turn paralyze on a character who's probably going to be moving at the end of your turn unless you're running someone slow as hell like Merceau. But even Merceau has some identities that are faster than this. Attack power down, I already went over it, it's kind of disappointing. Her rolls. So she rolls a 13 with Quake rounds. With 29 offense level, I have actually seen this lose a lot of clashes. On average, this is going to be a 7 or a 10 at 0 sanity, but is 29 offense level. Yeah, shove doesn't cost any ammo. And I guess we gotta give it credit where credit is due, because this is what, 3 ammo, 2 ammo, so that's a total of 7 ammo. So each cycle she's using 7 ammo, which is pretty decent actually. That's 6 skills used and only half of her ammo done. Her rupture is also like, it's just a little bit of extra damage. Like, it's not insane. It's 4 rupture plus 2 rupture count, then 4 more rupture plus 2 rupture count. So that's a total of what, like 4 plus 8 times 3. So that's like 28 extra damage. 28 extra damage is actually pretty decent. And since her offense level is low, it might be better actually that it's like true damage as rupture rather than her just getting damage bonuses from her attacks. Suppress also rolls kind of mediocre though. Like, the maximum roll for it is 12. So we are looking at 10, 13, 12, and with a really low offense level. So there are a lot of times I've seen her not win clashes or win clashes like with later coins. I guess that's also good for conserving ammo, but I would not put her very high. One ally with the lowest speed gains plus 2 guard skill final power. This one's kind of cool. Like, this is a decent passive as well. It's not as good as R-Corp, but it's decent. I think she deserves like A or B. I did bring her with my first railway run, and I didn't use her that much actually because I feel like she did really fall off. Her low offense level really does punish her, and her low speed is a little frustrating. If she goes in A, I'd put her bottom of A. I think she's worse than Heathcliff. I think if she had a little more speed, she might be like as good as ryoshu. Like, I'd put her maybe here if she was faster, but because she's so slow, I think I put her down here. I guess if it was like, would you rather use LCCB Ishmael or LCB Heathcliff, I would rather take Ishmael. But yeah, if I was in a mirror dungeon and I got an extra character, right, and it was like Ishmael or Heathcliff, and not thinking about E.G.O, not thinking about like the team I already have, and it's like, okay, you can only choose base Heathcliff or LCCB Ishmael, I would rather take Ishmael. So yeah. Alright, next up is Kurokumo Rodya. I feel like she's overrated. I think she's A tier at best. She might be worse than Guido Merceau. So she gains 4 poise on hit. This is the classic SSR skill 1 that rolls 11. Scattering Slash, it's 2 coins. It's a 6 plus 3. On average, that's a 9. Scattering Slash is really disappointing. Like, she doesn't gain sanity well. That's the main issue I have with her personally, is she does not gain sanity well. her main sanity gain skill that you're going to want to use is Scattering Slash, her second skill, which is a 6 with 2 plus 3s. At max roll, that's going to be 12, which is decent, but not impressive. Sky Clearing Cut would be a really good Clash winner because it rolls a 23 on heads if she could get the sanity she needs, but I feel like Scattering Slash I have seen lose so many clashes. Like, I think the way they wanted her to function is she gains poise from Sharpened Blade, and then she gets poise count from Scattering Slash after she's used Sharpened Blade. So you would want to use her skills in this order, like from 1, 2, 3. So she gains 4 poise, increases the count, gains more poise, and then crits a little bit. Scattering Slash, the poise count is on use, so you need to already have poise for it to actually matter or mean anything. Otherwise, it's literally just 1 poise. So that's why you would want to already have poise when you use it. I think even in bleed comps, she's not amazing. Like 10 bleed on crit is decent, but she has no bleed count stacking. And honestly, her rolls are just my issue with her. Even though Sky Clear and Cut has such high roll potential, she struggles so much to get her sanity up. At 5 or more poise, counter skills use skill 3. Like, do I care? I don't use her counter skills anyway. Maybe you would use it more if you could actually trigger her passive, but she has a decent support passive. Is she even better than Faust? No. No, she's not better than Faust. Is she better than Ryoshu? 7 Ryoshu may be better. I was thinking that too. Yeah. She's probably still better than Heathcliff, though. She rolls higher than him. I don't know, actually. She has, like, no team support besides the bleed. Sky Clear and Cut is, like, her kit just feels so bare bones. I would almost put her here. But maybe I'm just crazy. I might be a N-Corp Heathcliff diehard fan. So sad. Poor Rodya. Okay, LCCB Rodya. 3 paralyzed. So she has the same paralyzed thing on her skill 1 that LCCB Ishmael has, but she's faster. She has 1 more min speed and 1 more max speed, which is pretty cool. She inflicts defense power down, so all of her effects are same turn. 6 plus 1. This is a terrible, terrible skill. This is like on par with Yi-Song Blade Lineage. Rolls an 8 max. She has 40 offense level, so if only her actual clash numbers were good. Yay! Defense power down! Yeah, it's pretty worthless since it's same turn. Like, it only matters if the same Avno part or enemy is also using a defense skill after you inflict this. If the target took no damage from attacks this turn, coin power +2. Suppress is actually good. It rolls a 15 if you took no damage, and it inflicts defense power down, defense level down, and 3 paralyzed. So the paralyze is fine. If she rolled high enough speed for it to matter, then it's useful. It is same turn. 2 defense level down is also pretty solid. Like, that's 20% defense level down. That'll help your damage a bit. Deal plus 10% damage to enemies that use defense skills this turn. Wow, she hates defense skills. So maybe eventually they will add, I don't even know, man. Maybe they'll add something that'll make this actually useful. But right now she's yeah, she just has crazy high offense level just for fun. I have her uptied. There was a period where she was my only Rodya and I was using her. And she wasn't bad. She's not terrible. Suppress is pretty good. Her offense level is high. But I think she can't be higher than B tier. So the Paralyze has its uses. It has its use cases. Defense level down has its uses. We ignore defense power down because in the current game, it just doesn't do anything. I guess the one use I can think of this is if you use it on like Cromer, get rid of her evade with it or something. I like Suppress's rolls. Suppress rolls better than anything that Blade Lineage Yi-Song has. But I can't say she's better than him. And I think she might be worse than 7 Yi-Song as well. But there could be changes to the meta that make Rodya useful. Let's whip out N-Corp Rodya, my favorite Rodya identity. Devoted Hammering is the classic 3+4 2 coins, rolls an 11 max. Zealous Purge, it's got that classic mediocre clash power, with a 10 at max. She's got 37 offense level, which is pretty solid. On Clash Win, she gains Fanatic. And then when she has Fanatic, 15 damage is great. Gain haste and damage up every time an enemy is defeated. If this unit defeated an enemy, also gain 1 Fanatic. Her passive is amazing. It's owned, so that's also really good. So this will be permanently in play once you get 5 Wrath. So that's great. She has a great passive. So then she does extra damage while she's Fanatic, which is great. Her max roll is 12, so her clash power sucks. So the issue that I have when I use rodya is she loses a lot of clashes, but when she wins clashes, she does really well. I feel like she's not that amazing though. I put her really high up when I first ranked her, but I don't think she belongs that high. I think I might have overrated her a bit. Yeah, so I guess she wants constant application of Fanatic. She has 1 application of Nails, so having her with other Nails characters is pretty solid. This is next turn. What the heck? Oh wait, that synergizes with Fanatic though then, right? Because then her Fanatic lines up with when the enemy has Nails. I would put her in A or B tier. Maybe like, maybe here. I would say they're pretty neck and neck. I think it doesn't really matter who's on top. I'd say like Outis and N-Corp Rodya are pretty much on the same footing here. Now it's Sinclair time. I wish Sinclair had a good identity. Project Moon, please announce N-Corp Sinclair on Friday. F tier. So Blade Lineage Sinclair is the best Sinclair. He is easily the best Sinclair. However, he's still not a great identity. So Slice Then Stab is probably one of the worst skill ones that I've ever seen because it's a 7 max roll. Slash Series is goofy as fuck. Slash Series is so goofy. So on Clash Lose it gives 2 attack power up, which means I guess it's like a little bit of insurance. It's like if you win the clash, good for you because you won the clash and you get SP from it. But if you lose the clash, you get 2 attack power up next turn. And so if you use like another Slash Series, then you'll hopefully win that time, if you're lucky. 1 damage up next turn on New Sprung counter is kind of cool, actually. I actually kind of like this effect. I know the first time we looked at him for the old tier list, we talked about this too, but I like 1 damage up next turn. It synergizes with E.G.O well. It's, I guess, kind of useful if you can actually win a clash with Slash Series. The other issue is if you use his base E.G.O, he's shooting himself in the foot, because he gets -3 power from that. We're not going to take that too much into account, but fucking Slash Series with Branch of Knowledge the previous turn is one of the worst things ever. To claim their bones is like the rare case where even on tails it wins clashes. It's pretty solid, and on heads it's pretty much a guaranteed clash win. 5 paralyzed means absolutely fucking nothing with how goddamn slow he is. 3 bleed is also like, who gives a shit about 3 bleed? The last coin on the last skill in the chain deals plus 20% damage. Like, yeah, that's kind of, when it triggers for like to claim their bones, I think that's the intended effect, but it makes no fucking sense that they gave him 5 paralyzed. Like, literally no one's gonna use that paralyzed. I can't say I'm a huge fan of his kit, but I do think it's better than base Sinclair. Slash Series doesn't, it's like, it's old reliable. So if you're waiting for them to roll a tails, they'll eventually do it. It's 3 coins. It rolls a 6 minimum, which is like, it's fine. Even if you lose the clash, you get attack power up. I think he's maybe A tier. But I'd put him like here maybe. He does have damage up though on his counter. He has a lot more tools than base Sinclair. So he has a single really high rolling skill. He has damage up on his counter. He has attack power up on clash loss with his second skill. His skill 1 is absolute garbage, but whatever. And what are their... they have pretty comparable offense levels. But I think, especially in the current meta, with Sanity actually functioning as intended, having a really high rolling single coin skill is a very valuable tool. I feel like I'm pretty comfortable with this. I think like Blade Lineage Sinclair is definitely pretty comparable to the other characters in A tier. Is Blade Lineage Sinclair better than Donkey? Wait, doesn't he roll lower? Okay, but are y'all gonna treat me like I'm crazy if I drop Sinclair below Donkey? Donkey has a way better skill too, that's for sure. New Sprung Counter is cool though. Like I've never actually used it, but in theory, maybe we are all a little crazy. Like that? Look, if you gave me a choice of Shidon or Blade Lineage Sinclair to use, I would choose Shidon. But that might just be bias. I think Blade Lineage Sinclair is actually good though. Like, I would definitely choose him over a lot of characters. Like, she's better than Rodya too then. And Rodya might be like barely better than Sinclair. I think Dawn's better than Rodya. Her second skill though, it has a max roll of 12. Dawn's second skill has a max roll of 16. Her third skill has like a max roll of what, 23? Dawn's third skill has a max roll of 25, and that's without her getting the haste buff, which she's literally never gonna get. So Dawn outrolls her. Rodya has bleed on her, which is good, and she has poise on her, which is good. But Dawn also has poise. She has less poise, but she still has it. So it's really, is like 6 bleed better than winning more clashes. So I think this is maybe fair, but something feels a little wrong about that. This feels fine. Just going with my gut. Alright, Zwei Sinclair. He got some weird shit. Suppress, he has 29 offense level, it rolls an 8 at maximum. Damage down next turn is like, it's, yeah, sure. It's nice, but you don't want to clash with it. It's 2 Tremor with 29 offense level. Top tier, S tier for Zwei Sinclair. Is this the Sloth God? He is #1 Sloth identity. Strong Strike, on use apply 1 protection to the ally with the lowest HP. That's nice of him. He also does roll a 20 with it, which is higher than a lot of identities will ever see in their lives. But First Tremor, Blunt Fragility. This shit makes no fucking sense. Blunt Fragility on a character with 2 to 4 speed on the only hit of his skill, so that literally nobody can make use of that Blunt Fragility. He is your shield. He applies defense power up and 1 protection to allies adjacent to him on the dashboard, but more often than not, he's going to be last on the dashboard, so that is 1 character who's getting that buff. And then his support passive is actually pretty damn good. Just universal minus 10% damage for whoever's at the lowest HP. But Suppress never wins a clash. Baton is mediocre, average ass skill 1. Strong Strike rolls high as fuck, but Blunt Fragility is absolute nonsensical. And his offense level is so unbelievably low that I think he probably goes in C tier. If only. If only. If only the Blunt Fragility actually did something on him. Wouldn't that be nice? Is he really better than these characters? He might belong in D tier. Strong Strike can outroll literally all of the characters in the bottom 3 tiers. But yeah, but is that enough to merit him? I would actually put these 2 here. But then it feels kind of weird to have Dawn above Heathcliff. Real question, which is better, Mariachi or Zwei? Mariachi has like kind of the same situation as Zwei, doesn't he? So he rolls 8 on skill 1, which is literally worse. So wait, that's an 8. He has lower offense level than Zwei. He has literally the same ass dog shit rolls. And he rolls worse on his 3rd skill. If their SP is below 0, boost crit chance proportional to target's SP. Like, Pinata Party in Abno fights is, like, seriously the MVP. The amount of times I've used this for, like, thread luxcavations and had him one-shot the bosses. He has 1 stagger threshold. He has 27 offense level. This shit rolls 8. This shit rolls 8. This shit rolls 19. So he is kind of like a goofy version of Blade Lineage. His offense level is a lot lower. His 2nd skill doesn't grant power up on Clash Lose, so he doesn't have that extra layer of insurance. His evade is pretty good, but how are you going to get the sanity for it? I would rather take the counter, I think, and get that damage up. Ain't no fucking way, dude. Ain't no way he's going higher than, like, C tier, or maybe even B tier at the best. Okay, but what about Mariachi Sinclair makes him that much better than Zwei Sinclair? What about him makes him deserve 2 tiers higher? Because Zwei Sinclair has damage down. This is really good for, like, tanking shit. The blood fragility doesn't make any sense. The protection's probably also too late for it to actually do anything. Because it's on use, right? So if he uses that shit at the end of the turn, whoever had the lowest HP probably already went. His effects work and do something. So Mariachi's better than Zwei Sinclair. Lower stagger threshold by the evade skill's power to 5 times Gloom Res chance. This skill doesn't work against Abno fights. This shit is fine, I guess. Pinata Party's fine. He has sinking and poise. I guess he does exist in the sinking comp. I would not put him higher than C tier. He's one of those characters that I think can't support himself, so he would need Faust to babysit him. Is Hefe Sinclair better than Base? He can't possibly be. I think he's Yi-Song tier. Is he better than Yi-Song even? Yes, yes. Yi-Song has terrible offense level. Thank God, Yi-Song. You made my life so much easier. Alright. Otis. It's Otis time. I'm gonna oat so hard. Word? Okay, Blade, Lineage, Cutthroat, Otis. She has Poise. She has 5+4, Clash win game +1 Poise count. This is the same shit where she needs to use her first skill first. This is like a worse rodya. My thoughts on the matter are, at least it works. Gain +1 Poise count. Okay, yeah, so this is rodya again. She rolls better than rodya, actually, somehow. Poor rodya. She gains 2 slash damage up on heads. That's also kind of cool, actually. Except that this is a pierce, so you'd have to use it with, like, decisive dive. If target's HP is below 25%, final power +2. This shit doesn't really make a lot of sense either. I guess it just exists to, like, finish off a near-dead enemy. It rolls 14. If they're below 25%, it rolls 16. So, like, it's a Clash winner. On crit, raise first stagger threshold by 20% of damage dealt. So this is on the enemy, right? So this is like a burst tremor effect. Deal plus 20% damage to targets below 25% HP. Okay, and one ally with the highest SP deals plus 30% damage to enemies below 25%. So she is just like, she's a finisher. Human at less than 25 is probably staggered anyway. Right, and how's she even going to target a human at less than 25? Gain 1 poise count, gain 2 slash damage up. Slash damage up is nice, but that's pretty much the only useful effect she has. The only poise gain effect she has is Draw of the Sword. The only poise count effect she has is Acupuncture. So this is another case of they want you to go 1, 2, 3, gain the poise, increase the poise count, now crit with Decisive Dive, and then I guess raise their stagger threshold. This shit doesn't even fucking make sense. Hold up. Yeah, wait. Even for Abnos, if their HP is below 25%, they're also either staggered or probably don't have a stagger threshold left, right? Because it's for the specific part. Like, the HP check is probably also part, like, specified to each part. So that doesn't make sense. Yeah, her skill is actually broken. Never mind, it doesn't work. I'd put her in C tier. Her rolls are still decent enough, and her offense level's fine. 10, 13, 14, possibly 16. Okay, I'm comfortable saying that she's better than base Ryoshu. She's probably better than Faust. We'll just stick with this for now. Okay, then maybe we do dump Heath and Poggers. Okay. B-Corp Otis. The Goatus. I think she deserves A tier at least. She's so good. Apply 2 protection to the ally with the lowest speed. So that's, I guess, works with Merceau. So the issue she has is with gaining sanity, since all of her coins are 50-50s. But if you get lucky and win the 50-50s, she does get a lot of momentum. 15, 22. So these are both clash winners. These are better rolling than a lot of other skills are, but the problem is they're single coin. I use her a lot, actually. So if I need blunt damage, I toss her on the team, and I rarely regret it. So Onslaught Command is on use, so even if she loses the clash, the lowest speed ally still gets attack power up. If you manage to win the clash and get a heads hit, you also give them 2 damage up. Because this affects the lowest speed ally, even though it's same turn, it's guaranteed to matter. Onslaught Command is also just amazing, because it helps them win clashes, and then also boosts their damage. So this is like a huge buff. Yeah, Onslaught Command I feel like is her best skill for the buffs it gives. Focus is her best clash winner. 5 sinking is kind of sure. 2 attack power down. It's same turn, which is a little disappointing, but it's also very useful. And she's fast enough that it usually is okay that it's same turn, as long as you have multiple clashes with the same enemy. So in humanoid fights, this is less valuable. Oh, her passive, next turn apply 2 haste to self and allies who are adjacent to this unit on the dashboard this turn. That's also great. Wait, that combos with She Ishmael pretty well, if you can get it to trigger. Is it Resonance? It's Resonance. Okay. Combos with She Dawn. It does combo with She Dawn, although you still need Sloth Resonance for it. Her support passive is also really good, actually. It's like kind of weird how it's random, so you can randomly get 1 attack power up, 1 defense power up, and 1 protection, and you kind of never want to get the defense power up. But attack power up, it's like a little icing on the cake. 1 protection is good for like solos and shit. And this one is owned, so you can get it every turn if you just have enough sloth. I would put her A tier, I think. And I think she's better than Sinclair. She does have a little bit of an issue gaining sanity. Once she gains it though, she's very good. And I would say Sinclair has a similar issue. So I think she's better than Sinclair. 7, Section 6, outis. Outis Intolerant. In a clash, opponent has -2 clash power. Dude, her clash shit is crazy. Her clashing is nuts. So this shit, effective 12. It's a 6 on tails, effective 8 on tails. Rolls as good as fucking Claim Their Bones on tails. Inflict 1 paralyze next turn. So next turn, we like 1 paralyze. We don't like so much because it's literally just 1 paralyze. If they have more than 1 coin, then sure, it's literally just 1 paralyze. In a clash, opponent has -2 clash power, so this is effectively a 17, which is a very high number, very good. And then this one is an effective 14, but her effects are also very good. She has defense level down. Next turn, she inflicts 2 of it, which will increase the amount of damage enemies take, lower the effectiveness of their defense skills, etc. Rupture count is kind of whatever. She doesn't have any way to actually inflict rupture, so all this really does is carries the rupture over. So if they already had rupture, she'll like kind of extend it a little bit. It's kind of I don't really care about rupture count. Exploit the gap. Inflict 1 offense level down. This is a really good debuff. It's like a power debuff, and it's especially effective on enemies with high offense levels because then you'll get more value for it. Deal bonus slash damage by 50% of damage dealt. So this does 2 types of damage. The last skill will do a little bit of extra slash damage, and it inflicts weakness analyzed. You said weakness analyzed can for some reason increase damage to staggered enemies too? Interesting. Yeah, so even on tails, that's a 7, that's an 8, that's an 8. So she is not going to have a problem gaining SP. She also only has 1 stagger threshold, which I did not know about her. So that's pretty cool. She has very high speed as well. So what this does is a random endure or normal damage attack type. Resistance is weakened, so it's +2 to damage multiplier for 1 turn. So it's basically a 20% weakness to one of their resistances. Yeah, so this is a pretty solid debuff that you can get on them. And then yeah, she has 1 haste, 1 defense power up. So she has a very high block roll, a very high guard skill. 1 haste doesn't really matter at all. 1 defense power up also only really matters if you're going to use this shit every turn. But it's good. It's a good defense skill. It's a large shield, which is nice. really what she's good for is she wins clashes. She wins a lot of clashes, even at lower sanity. She inflicts defense level down, offense level down, and weakness analyzed. And that's what she's there for. She also has her passive when attacking a target with the damage type the target is weak or fatal to, deal 10% extra damage, which just multiplies the damage they're weak to. And then her support passive, one ally with the highest speed, deals plus 10% damage when attacking target with a damage type the target is weak or fatal to. So that's just like a little bonus for, like, I don't know, if you're soloing or just have her in the bleachers or whatever. So I would say with all of this, she either goes S+, bottom of S+, or top of S, is what I'm thinking. Putting her below Honglu feels right. Okay, it's Greg time. So, he just has a lot of damage bonuses. This shit, it's the classic 4 with 2+3s, SSR numbers that maxes at 10 for some reason. Flash Wind plus 40% damage. This is honestly pretty mediocre, except for shit like My Form Empties, where he does true damage, and it's actually very useful. But in any case besides that, like when they don't have a shit ton of protection, it's kind of whatever. Yes, he can heal himself and not die, but how much is he actually adding to the team? Inflict 5 Rupture, heal by 50% of the damage dealt. So this rolls high. It's a 16. It does require high sanity. And he's not the greatest clasher. I guess his offense level is high enough that that helps him quite a bit. Eviscerate, if his target has Rupture. So this shit, when the fuck are they gonna have that much Rupture? Because he doesn't even apply Rupture, which means they would have to have 3 Rupture count for this to matter. But heal 100% of the damage dealt, that's decent too. He heals himself, that's a 12 roll max. So those are pretty, like, they're okay numbers. At less than 25% HP, heal by 5% of max HP after winning a clash. This, I feel like, wouldn't trigger that often. He has 3 stagger thresholds, but his support passive is busted. He has the BL Yisong offense with actually decent numbers that BL Yisong doesn't have, which is why he doesn't go straight in B tier. I think maybe bottom of S tier. His support passive is S tier for sure. Maybe he does go in S, but I think Ishmael's better than him. And then we got Gregor, my favorite animations in the game. So, keep it fresh. Inflicts 1 paralyze if the target has bleed, inflicts 1 paralyze next turn. He got the goofy offense level. He's got one of the worst skill 1s, but honestly still better than Blade Lineage Sinclair's skill 1. You fresh enough? This one, same numbers as Ncorp Heathcliff, but without all of the cool effects. He does have bleed count and bind, which are very based. Plus 2 bleed count is like, that makes him the second best bleed count support in the game. Butcher Vyand, this shit's weird. It rolls a 9. It's got 4 +1 coins, but look at him. Look at him, he's going all out on the dance floor with that shit. So, inflict 1 bleed, inflict 1 paralyze, heal HP based on target's bleed. He has enough speed that the paralyze could actually be useful. The heal based on the target's bleed is kind of interesting, so it kind of makes you want to throw him into a bleed comp, and the bleed count also supports that. He actually does have good effects for a bleed comp. Once he gets SP, this is his main clash winner. He'll just hit a 14 on it and hopefully win. I guess technically, since this is 5 more offense level than this, we can pretend this has 1 extra power compared to this. So if this is rolling 14, then this would roll a 10. But a 10 is not very good for a skill 3. The damage isn't great on it, because it's 6 + 7 + 8 + 9. Heal 8 HP at the start of the combat phase. His Packed Pie's passive is kind of cool. And Culinary Aid. At the start of the combat phase, the ally with the lowest HP heals 5 HP. Boosts the healing of Ryoshu's Bistro Chef de Cuisine. Ryoshu's passive rustle up by 5. So it's the same passive as base Gregor, but also it buffs Chef Ryoshu. So he's also pretty useful on the bench. I think he's fun to use, but honestly I would say he might be B tier. I like him more than Yisong. I like him more than regular Gregor too. I put him there. Okay, I think that's the final tier list then, right? Alright, I'm pretty satisfied with this, honestly. These are all mediocre characters, yeah. These are all hardly worth using characters, yeah. Stay away. These are all good. These are all really good. And these are all poggers. Yeah. Alright. GG's, everyone. Mariachi should be slightly up, like 5 tiers. You're right, yeah, my bad. He does belong in Pogger's tier here. I think, actually, I'd say he's better than Otis, but not better than Hongwu. Alright, there it is. Finalized list. You can screenshot if you want. Yeah, we did it.